USAA Insurance. Making insurance easy is our duty. Eligibility restrictions apply. Insurance provided by United Services Automobile Association and its affiliates, San Antonio, Texas.
They say credit belongs to the man in the arena who spends himself in a worthy cause. The glory is reserved for the few who, no matter what, answer the call to enter the arena. It echoes out, reverberating across the globe. It only acts to reach the bold, never the timid. The call delivers victory to the deserving and rewards the devoted. For when your time comes, there is only one option. Enter the arena. Fight for the call.
Welcome to the Florida Home Series. We're just chilling at the beach today as there are just 7 weeks left until the Field for Champs is set. I'm joking, there's no chill right now. Today, the team to beat is Atlanta FaZe. They start things off against the struggling Surge. But before we get into our first match, welcome to our CDL HQ presented by USAA. Damn, does it feel good to be back on the desk with my two boys.
Welcome back, Lottie.
Thanks.
Welcome back.
Thanks, fellas. I got Standy and Nameless, of course, joining me once again to set the table for this week. Now, gents, we all agree that FaZe is the cream of the crop at the moment. But as we're heading into this week right now, I got to ask you, who's in your top 4 yet again? Because tables have been turning all season. And Nameless, I got to know who your list is, mate.
Yeah, going big picture, I like it. You know, ramping up towards stage 4, stage 5, and champs is I'm starting to get these questions a lot. Who are my top 4 teams? And for me, I got FaZe at number 1, New York at number 2, number 3 is going to go to Toronto, and then number 4 is going to go Florida Mutineers. Now that is where a lot of people, they're going to get a bit different. I feel like most people will have Atlanta, New York, and Toronto as their top 3, but Florida as of late, they've been lights out. I'm looking at Neptune. He started to be consistently dominating. His movement is absolutely on point. He's starting to, find his own. Havoc as well, he stepped it up, and then Awakening keeps coming time and time again with these big plays. And Sky's finally found consistency. These guys have won their last 2 series. They've looked incredible, and honestly, all 3 game modes. So I like their trajectory going forward, and they've earned a spot in my top 4 as of now.
My top 4 is actually a lot similar to you. The only thing different on my end is going to be that team in that 4th slot. So we're going to have FaZe in the first. A little different though, with Toronto going to be sitting at 2nd for me, and then New York going to be sitting at 3rd. But number 4 is going to be OpTic. And the reason why I chose them is because versus the top 4 teams is where OpTic has truly been struggling. But versus everyone else, they're currently undefeated. So this is one of those top dog teams that we expect to be on top. We see how their performance at the Major 3 was. They got to another top 4 placing. And obviously when they play against the best teams, it's really difficult. But when you look at this roster from top to bottom, it's hard to put these guys out of the top 4.
You know what, I totally agree with both of you guys, and I do see why your 4th position does change. I think right now it is up in the air. We're not really sure where the dust settles, but hopefully this week will give us a little bit more insight. Now, talking about some teams, one team that is not in the conversation, the top 4, is in fact Dallas Empire, which I think at the start of the season, they would have been in that conversation. Absolutely. For sure. So, looking at this team right now, I've got to know from you boys, what do they have to really do to start proving to you that they could potentially win this 2nd title?
Yeah, I mean, I'll go first in this one. First and foremost, they got to just start winning, right? Their game modes, every single one of them has been sort of underwhelming. They've been lackluster across Control and S&D for quite some time. Their hard point at times, they're there. It gets to the very end of the games. They lose a couple hard points by 30, 40 points. But Vivid, for me, this guy is playing with no sense of urgency right now. He got picked up to this team. He's supposed to be the guy that is the SMG Slayer right next to Shotzzy. And now that we know one player can make a huge impact, we have a few case studies of it in the past. I mean, you look at HyDra, you look at Insight, you look at Priestahh back on that 100 Thieves team that we had in Black Ops 4. One player can make a massive difference, and that is what they were hoping for with Vivid. You look at this roster, iLLeY started to play a bit better in their last series. Shotzzy, he's been consistent, and then Crim, he still has some work to do, but for Vivid to come onto this team and to be dead last in KD and a couple other stats across the board, that's not acceptable for me. So I need him to step it up for this team, to start winning some games and make a run.
For me, I think Dallas just need to focus on one game mode specifically, and it's going to be control. Ever since these guys have made that roster change to put Hook on the bench, they haven't won it. Even with Felony, they went 0-6. Now with Vivid, they're currently 0-2, and they're on an 8-loss spree in the game mode. And just looking at these stats, they are dead last, like I said. But just most importantly is that defensive rounds. Like, they are dead last in defensive rounds, and in the game mode like Control, that needs to be your bread and butter. A lot of these maps are really heavily favored on defense, and the fact that they are better in their attacking rounds than defenses, that's really difficult. They need to improve on this game mode if they want to start pushing series the distance and start closing them out.
For sure, I hear both of you on both of these points here. I think the stats don't lie in terms of control. You just, it's something that has to improve going forward. And then I think, Nameless, your point about Vivid is spot on. I think you need Vivid to step up. You need him to be that HyDra, that Paco on the NYSL team, coming in, being that aggressive SMG player, making the difference, turning things around. Honestly, we need to see him shine today, and I hope Vivid does just that. Now, talking about the 4v4 format, we need to talk about how much it has allowed players to shine. We need to talk about the MVP kind of stature that is going to be coming at the end of the season. I did turn to some friends, and I do have other friends other than Stud and Nameless, I promise. But we actually turned to our observers to ask them who are in their top 3 picks for MVP currently. This is the combo, guys. Yeah.
They're loving FaZe.
Both have Kenny. Both have Kenny as well.
Yeah, that's the interesting
So we got
part,
X and Q. Yeah, it's very interesting. We got X's and Q's here on the screen. Gents, just overall, what do you make of both of their choices here?
First of all, I think these lists are pretty solid. I see the angle that they're going for. Kenny for LA Thieves is like the best player, and he's been their MVP, helping them win games. I just don't think that LA Thieves have had enough success or deep enough runs in tournaments to be on an MVP list just yet. That doesn't mean he can't be the MVP by the end of the season. I just don't think that he's earned that title just yet.
Okay, that's totally fair enough. I think in terms of MVP, though, I've got to hear from you boys. Who's on your list currently at the moment? Nameless, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I'm going to go with a couple Røkks and one, vet. I'm going with Simp. Obviously, I think Simp is just an incredible talent. I mean, every single time he has a bad map, the next series, he just absolutely takes over. He plays with passion. The guy is always on point, and he makes miraculous plays out of nothing. He's super versatile, and that's why he gets my first spot there. And then HyDra and Insight. So talk a little bit about HyDra. I mean, this guy came in with a language barrier, joined a team that wasn't playing, that lights out. They needed some sort of healing factor, and he healed them. They started to win hardpoint and dominated at that. They went 9-0. And that is so difficult to do, especially playing with people that you've never played with before in your life. And then Insight, the last guy on my list, he came into Toronto. They won a championship. They were absolutely lights out. He's been consistent, the backbone of this team, and he's making hugely impactful plays as the main AR, which is difficult to do as well. So that's my top 3 for MVP right now.
It's hard to argue with those, Nameless, but I got to ask Stud, are you in the same kind of mindset here? What are you saying?
The only mindset that we have similar here is going to be Simp, man, because ever since that guy's entered the league, he's just been an unbelievable player. I'm pretty sure he's probably going to go down in the Call of Duty Hall of Fame still right now in his career now. So we're going to have Simp sitting at number 1 simply because the guy's just a beast, man. And then number 2, we're going to have aBeZy. The stats that this guy is able to put up at such a fast pace for this SMG, pretty sure he's over 1.1 as that SMG role, and he's just picking up a lot of kills on the map. He's just way too fast to keep up with, and just the pacing that he puts on the map, it's really good to put him at my MVP for number 2. But number 3 is going to be Clayster for me, and the reason why I chose Clayster, because if you look at the cards that he was dealt in the beginning of the year, he basically was on the World Championship team last year, got released because it went from 5v5 to 4v4, so now he's building basically an entire new team. He had 2 rookies on his roster, and then Asim in his 3rd year, so he was just trying to build it all back together, and he's went through multiple different rosters now, but the fact that he's 29 years old, father time, still putting up the stats that he is, you got to give him the MVP, man. He's just been through so much this year, and he's still on top.
Well, you know what? I'm excited to see what you gents think in a week's time. I wonder if any of those will change based on what we see before us. And talking about that, let's take a look right now at our US Army schedule to see what we've got on the table for you guys all week. That is right. I'm getting the calendars out for you guys. Get them out. Get them out. We got an incredible day filled with bangers today. Two matches on the table. Seattle Surge versus FaZe. Empire versus LAG. Tomorrow is going to be Legion versus LA Thieves. Mutineers versus New York Subliners. And we've got the weekend. So if you guys had any plans, cancel them. They're chalked. You're watching Call of Duty League. So we've got a Game Fuel marquee match here as well on Saturday. Legion versus OpTic. Sunday, we got a T-Mobile 5G weekly drop. Remember to tune in for that one to win some epic epic prizes. And then finally on Sunday, to close things out, our Game Fuel marquee match is going to be Empire versus NYSL, which could potentially be an absolute banger, especially if Vivid shows us what he's got today. Well, that is going to do it from us on the desk for now. Our first match of the day is going to be a tough one for Surge as they battle it out against the almighty Atlanta FaZe. Lando and Studdy will be with you right after the break.
Yeah.
The Call of Duty League is presented by Seany, the official eyewear for the CDL. Armor your eyes with Seany Blocks blue light protection glasses by visiting seany.com/gaming. Presented by USAA Renters Insurance, made to insure your gear in real life.
Hello friends and welcome to day one of the Florida home series. It is set to be a wonderful weekend of matches. We're starting things off in a great way. Atlanta FaZe taking on the Seattle Surge. Before we hop into this game, it's good to kind of give some perspective, right? Coming into week 2 of stage 4, this is where our CDL points sit right now. Of course, presented by Game Fuel. You notice at the top, FaZe firmly in command of that number 1 spot. You look all the way down to number 12. Who's that? Oh yeah, it's Seattle Surge with 50 points. A big game. Like we said, we talk about how the groups are obviously winding out, Stud. But again, when we talk about where both of these teams sit, it is basically number 1 versus number 12. Atlanta FaZe sitting pretty after a W. Seattle on the other side, not feeling so great after a loss. Again, folks, it is Lando and Studdy guiding you guys through the action. A great game. Studdy kick off the Florida home series. I got followed by John Cena on Twitter. How are you?
Me too, man. I couldn't see him when he followed me, but I was happy to get a follow by Mr. John Cena. But between these two matches, like you said, number 1 versus number 12. This is David versus Goliath. And right now, Seattle, they need every win that they can possibly get. And when you're going up against a team like Atlanta FaZe, who already have 2 major wins underneath their belt, they're the number 1 team in the entire CDL, currently sitting at 360 points. They're just trying to work on their bad maps. So if you're the Surge, you need to come out. You need to play probably the best Call of Duty you've played all season.
Yeah, without a doubt. Like I said, when you face off against a team like Atlanta, you got to be on point. It's going to be, what, their 2nd series now with Classic in the lineup. Can they end the 8-game losing streak? Can they pull off something absolutely miraculous? We're excited to see if that, in fact, can be the case. Let's go ahead and meet our first team, Seattle Surge. Fire coming in, but can Prestinni win the 2? No. He does. That's 3 straight.
He's trying to get out there. He challenged and he wins it. Behind a Classic. Trying to line him up. In the final.
Looking to find a few more, but Gunless absolutely rips his way through the 3 of them.
249, Seattle won!
And there you have it, your Seattle Surge. 4 individuals who probably also got the follow by John Cena. On a serious note, though, Stud, a heartbreaking loss that this team is coming off of. A big game versus the LA Thieves. We can talk a number of different times about that control, and they get all the way to the game 5 and are not able to close it out. Like we said, man, just one of the many unfortunates for Seattle kind of so far throughout this year. Expectations coming into the rest of stage 4, in your opinion?
I think Seattle, I feel like they're going to be on the upwards because obviously in the series that they play versus the Thieves, if they do not choke that control, they're able to close it out in 3-1 with them winning both hard points. So with them adding Classic to this team, I just feel like everyone is a lot more comfortable on the map. And we saw it out of Octane in that series. He had a great series. Even though they lost it in the 3-2, we haven't seen Octane play that well in a really long time. So for players like Classic who didn't have a good debut, you're doing what your team needs you to do. It's just those little plays that really, those little mistakes that can cost you out in series. You just got to make sure that you're closing out in those final moments.
Yes, and oftentimes we talk about it's the little things, right? It can be the mistakes, and this team on the other side, they like to punish you when it comes down to those little mistakes. Again, like we said, when we talk about the CDL points, it is hard to ignore the team at the top. It is hard to not see them, if you get what I'm saying. Let's go and beat our other team. Again, a solid roster, a group that we look to see have another solid performance today. It is the Atlanta FaZe.
The game has turned on its head.
Run! Get onto the point! Cellium finds himself 2 more. Oh, baby! Absolutely slayed. What a magnificent comeback from Atlanta.
And there is the Atlanta FaZe, a scary roster from top to bottom. And as we were talking about Seattle, off of an unfortunate loss, Atlanta on the other side, off of a very heroic win stud, they get to 3-0 versus OpTic.
Yeah, they get the 3-0 versus OpTic, and that was just insane to watch because Atlanta FaZe, once again, when they play the top dogs, they're going to come out and play their best maps. They're not trying to let anything fishy happen, so they dominated OpTic in that series in a 3-0 clean with everyone sitting over basically a 1.2, and that's just something that we don't see often. And that's what's so scary about this team is that they have no weakness. So watching Atlanta FaZe, you know, 2 already major wins underneath their belt, the best team in the game. But let's just hop into our keys to victory brought to you by Game Fuel for Atlanta FaZe. They showed their line of consistency versus OpTic. Like I said, man, everybody was over 1.18 KD with a plus 50 slaying. It's so scary, man, because everyone is just so consistent on this team and they have no weakness. And continue to expand the map pool leading into the Major 4. Work on the little things. They only have a couple maps that they're not really comfortable on yet, and we see them every series, just throw them in there, trying to get better at them. But when we do the keys to victory for Atlanta FaZe, it's just really difficult because these guys are so good. They just need to be on point today.
I know it's always like, okay, expand your map pool and, you know, just one play that happened, yeah, you guys should work on that. Like, it's so minor. Of course, on the other side, our Game Fuel keys to victory here for the Seattle Surge. What, man? Slayers need to be firing on all cylinders. You're playing against a squad like FaZe, and with Classic now on the team, he can free up those Slayers to be able to find kills, as you mentioned, as we saw versus LAT. And then Control, right? It cannot continue to hold them back any longer as they sit right now on an 8-game losing streak in that mode. And obviously, we talk about their last series versus Thieves quite often. They lost both of the Search and Destroys in that department. And really, in general, when we talk about their map pool, it has to improve, right? I think they're like 4-10 outside of Express, Search, and Destroy. So again, just a number of different things that, you know, have to be kind of in the process for Seattle. It's obviously going to be a very tough, rather very difficult and tough opponent coming in here versus Atlanta. But we talk about map vetoes. We talk about possibly maybe a map expansion coming in from Atlanta. Instead, as we look through our set of 5 here, any maps kind of stick off the page for you?
Yeah, so Checkmate Hardpoint, this is a map that Atlanta FaZe haven't played a lot all year. They're currently sitting at 3-3, so they want to just get more reps on it to be prepared going into that Major 4. So that one's going to be in favor of the Surge here. And then that map number 2 is going to be Raid, Search, and Destroy. And Atlanta FaZe, the only team that I feel like they have struggled with on that map is Toronto. And the fact that they're playing the Surge on that, obviously they're not going up against Toronto, so they're a little bit more confident there. So I'm excited to see that one. But this series can go either way. If the Surge can come out and win map 1, I think the later half of the series between the Control and the next hardpoint, I heavily favor FaZe, but they can come out in this opening hardpoint and just chain that momentum going into the Search and Destroy. I have a feeling that this series might go 5.
All right, man, it's going to be a fun one. As we said, starting off the Florida home series the right way, our first series and our first map. As you mentioned, Atlanta, not too prone to playing Checkmate Hardpoint. In fact, I believe it's the first time that they've played it since the Stage 2 Major versus the Ultra. They didn't get the W there, but it has been some time. So, you know, again, we talked about teams expanding the map pool. You and I talked about this quite a bit for Atlanta. that, you know, could at times come back to bite them. Like, you know, we saw them play standoff search and destroy. It just so happens to be that Paris looked like the best standoff search and destroy team in the league. So maybe you catch a little bit of an advantage here if you are really the opposite side. But how about the start to this hard point? Seattle come in a big way toward top lane and instantly secure spawns for P2. A great way to start this one off. We talk about how important this game one hard point is for the Surge. You couldn't ask for a better start than that.
Yeah, they got a nice 4 dead, and they were able to flip those spawns. They ain't gained 20 seconds onto this P1 hard point. Now, it's all about just keeping this contested, making sure that you're keeping those spawns for that P2. You see players playing a little more passive. Gunless and Prestinni still putting down the crossfire inside plane. But so far, job well done out of the Surge. They flip the spawns, they get a good amount of time off of this P1. Now it's all about just trying to set up for that P2, making sure that no one dies off the rotation. Classic drops there, but he's going to hold his cam. Unfortunately, and not spawn in the back, so he doesn't hold his cam there, so the pinch is going to come in, but that's going to be 3 down for Seattle Surge. And now that they have spawned, they just have to locate Cellium towards this back yellow building, start putting some more time on this clock.
A lot easier said than done, but Octane is able to handle business at just the right time. Again, Atlanta somewhat frustrated that they did lose those backside spawns, but again, it's Octane laying down the lead there with the Krieg. Atlanta 3 strong now toward the flank. 30 very valuable seconds still left on deck as Prestinni's able to find the first, and a quick double toward the front side as the break will in fact be in from Atlanta. Somewhat of a slower start. They don't get as much time as they would have wanted, but at the very least they are going to be able to get the break and grab those final 15 seconds.
Yeah, so now it's all about just setting up off that rotation, and that's exactly what the Surge are doing. They're trying to trap Atlanta FaZe towards this back P2. Prestinni with a big kill towards that aBeZy. Just making sure that they're holding the players from FaZe in this little corner here and just not giving up that map control. So they're going to start off with the initial time. aBeZy does sneak through Tetris. They're able to get 2. So now this is going to cause some problems for the Surge. It's going to be 3 down. Last player alive is going to be Octane towards back exit. He's able to take down 2 before he drops, and his teammates are able to get back on towards the point. So even with the Surge dropping like flies on that play, they're still able to stay alive with the great play out of Octane to get the 2, stall enough time for his teammates to get back on that point.
I know we talked about it in our Keys to Victory stud, but I know you have kind of talked to me a number of different times about how great of a player that you think Classic is. Nicky D kind of has a lot of intangibles for a team, and I think we both agree, like, a team like Seattle, I think, has the ability to benefit more than possibly a roster like Legion did. And you see Octane going 9-4 just to start off this hard point. He had a 1.3 in that series versus LAT. Talk to me, like, what do you think some of the benefits are by adding a player like Classic to the Surge?
So when you're adding a player like Classic to the Surge, like, obviously before they made that roster change, they had Looney on here. So before Looney, he was that in-game leader. So when you add a player like Classic to the mix, that's one thing that they were struggling when they released him. And that's what a Classic is so well at doing. He has the past chemistry with Octane, with Gunless, and they've won multiple championships together. But just adding Classic, he's going to do all the dirty work and just keep the small talk and keep the plays consistent for the team. Make sure everyone's on the same page and just really be that in-game leader for this roster.
I'll tell you what, man, this roster could definitely utilize that skill as they have, you know, like I said, with players like Looney, and at times you can take a hit whenever you lose just the advantage like that. But Octane, 12-4 on the 7 spree, does in fact earn the artillery and could be moments away from grabbing the cruise as well. As 90-53, Surge coming out strong to start this one off. P5 could definitely start to tell somewhat of a different story, but again, they are able to push out the spawns and now have the advantage coming into that hill as well. A few moments away from capturing that century mark here to start off this hard point. We go and step aside and listen with the other side. Let's go to our Astro listening now with Atlanta.
No trophies on time.
Yeah, I'm going back. I'm going back.
No trophies on time. He's pushing me. He's pushing me.
Yep.
Yo, from what? From what?
I don't see anything back with.
And what?
I'll see him one. I'll see him one.
I'm sending time. I'm gonna be quick. Nice, text me.
I went top lane. Same last year.
I'm front on you.
I top lane.
I got a time.
I top lane.
Chris, I'm playing time with you, bro.
Yep. Top lane.
Chris, I'm in interview. Yo, our steps. Nice, Chris, you can push it. Run hill.
He's yellowing. Yeah, Pierce is yellowing. He's just holding. He jumped down to yellow crate. Alright, bring this shit back right here.
I'm just staying up new. I'm gonna help you in new. Yeah, I'm in the room.
I'm coming too.
I'm gonna cut over you. I'm gonna cut over you.
I made it.
Yeah, you're good. I'm
laying down.
Pierce was yellow shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah, he hit her long.
Our long.
Nice right.
Fuck, this is...
I'm trying to get back.
I got one. I got
I'll
two.
see
One more, one shot,
Pierce is
one
great
more
crate. Pierce is great crate.
I'll come.
He's just spawn trapping. He's just spawn trapping. Pierce is great
Yeah.
crate.
Try to kill that guy.
I think we're good. Yeah,
I'm in the room.
He's on street.
Room dead.
Nice.
Yeah, room. One shot.
Okay.
In the room, Sam.
Are you leaving Pierce?
Photo.
He's weak. He's lying down.
Yeah, I got.
Where? I left him.
Still missing Pierce, right?
Yeah. He's on like a 3 or 4.
Top
He's
yellow.
on. One dead.
I have it. Big 30 right here.
Wait.
Part of the stairs on me. Damn, really weak.
Yo, tube.
Push down. Yo, phone time, guys.
Yeah. I got
Pierce is bottom tail.
Nick is weak. One's long. Nick is in 2. Preston's pushing mid long. Preston's pushing mid long, by the way.
Yeah, make sure we're playing
I
this
spawned back wood. Yeah, I spawned back wood.
Bottom point, Preston. Nice.
I mean, exit now.
Yeah, slow down.
Oh, I dead.
Good kills. Good job.
Top yellow Sam, got spawn kill.
Where's tail?
Or tube, Sam.
Can you cross?
Yeah, I'm trying.
No,
he's bottom tail, bro.
On team.
He's just holding bottom tail. Close right on you.
Too big.
Pierce weak.
Nice.
Flashing
over here.
C2, I'm trying to cross.
He was back.
He's laying down. There's two. He got me.
You heard Atlanta calling out streaks, calling a number of different things, just trying to be prepared for what is great map positioning right now from Seattle. I gotta say, with as close of a map that it almost is somewhat surprising, Stud, considering how great that Surge have been playing early on in these money hills, but they've been doing the hard work. It's just been a matter of not being able to get it done down the stretch. But see if Atlanta has the ability to break with these 30 seconds left. A few players wiped off the map, and it appears that these last few are gonna go the way of Seattle once more.
Yeah, so this Atlanta FaZe, they did such a great job of breaking into that P5 and not letting this game get out of hand. So with right now, Surge are only up by at least 30 points if they get this remaining 15. Put them up by 45, but Atlanta FaZe is doing a great job of just keeping them off that time. But Seattle, they just had a great hold on that P2. So now the lead is going to grow. That forces Atlanta FaZe to set up off that rotation towards that P3. You see what aBeZy's trying to do once again. Cause some problems for Seattle. Surge towards that Tetris side. He's able to win that first engagement onto Classic. He's just playing his life, just wasting time on the clock. Seattle trying to set up a push here. They're not trying to drop single-handedly one by one. So they're waiting for the push to come in. So far, there's no action on the map. This is the quietest that we've ever seen Call of Duty. But Atlanta FaZe are able to take down 3. Prestinni's going to be the last player alive. He's going to drop as well. So a great hold out of the Surge on that P2 turns to another great hold out of FaZe on P3, which we usually don't see often. aBeZy currently on a 5-speed now. Atlanta FaZe only down 10 points, make it 6 for aBeZy, working towards some streaks.
Oh, and it just does get cut down. An unfortunate life to lose if you are FaZe in that moment. Could have very well had streaks, but they go on, what, like a 9-10 team spree. Nice little sequence there granted for FaZe as they will reclaim spawns. That was for a moment a little bit of a tricky situation there for Atlanta, with the fact that P5 was in favor of the Surge for a moment. But back and forth we go on some checkmate. A nice advantage currently granted for Seattle. But with aBeZy slaying like this, you have to ask yourselves, can this continue? Octane tries to step in, pretty much the only player to try and make somewhat of an impact in that moment, and he gets dealt with. Another team spree coming through, and aBeZy picking up right where he left off. A 4 spree for him, a 4 spree as well for Arcitys. Atlanta climbing their way back as we are contested with 30 left over at P4. But it's Arcitys who loses the big fight versus Octane. A number of different major battles going down throughout the map, but 20 seconds left. Seattle with a minor lead. But P5, those spawns still belong to Atlanta.
Yeah, and they need to try to flip this if you're Seattle. You need to win these engagements, and that's a good opening right there out of Prestinni. To get this remaining 10 seconds, put your team up by at least 30 points, but it's all about just trying to pick up these kills and flip these spawns. Atlanta FaZe is going to be fully set up for that P5. One player already on the hill. One player does have plane control. And number 8, which is aBeZy, is going to be sitting in the corner watching that A-long. The streak is going to come in from Octane. Can he try to spot anyone? aBeZy was able to take down a Classic. Streaks in, and unfortunately nothing connects. So Atlanta FaZe are able to get right onto the point. We're going to see a lead change here shortly. But Atlanta FaZe finally having their first lead of the entire game. They're just trying to hold down the pressure from the Surge, but they're able to break in through the front. Kills are going back and forth, and Atlanta FaZe, they slow down the push from the Surge and once again have control.
It's a neck-and-neck hard point separated by, what, a good 4 to 5 seconds. Seattle not necessarily starting to scatter, but again, you saw little moments back and forth, as you called it, Stud. The SMGs kind of make their way forward, but Atlanta are able to slow down the push. As we head back toward top, it is aBeZy continuing to cause chaos. Cellium, meanwhile, is finding players through the wall. Cabin or not, the other players are having some issues for the moment. Back and forth, 25 left for Atlanta. Can Seattle muster this one back? Octane drops, Gunless is there for the trade. Back and forth we go, my man.
Yeah, back and forth, but Atlanta FaZe are doing a great job of just holding on this P1 to the best of their ability. They only need about 15 seconds left to close this out. You see what Simp's doing? Just applying pressure on the map, able to take 2 down. They can close it out here with 10 seconds remaining, unless the Surge are able to get in and contest it.
Now we'll see if they can possibly muster that up. 7 seconds left for this one to be a FaZe W, but it's Gunless for the first. A quick trade, and now it comes down to Octane. How long can he delay? But he gets stuck. The nade right to the center of the eyes as Prestinni has to pick up right where he left off. But as he falters, can anybody from the Surge get there in time? Gunless running as fast as he can, and he will contest, but aBeZy is there for the clothesline. And what was a very neck and neck hardpoint all the way throughout, it will be Atlanta going big in the later stages, grabbing P5 and grabbing P1 to get the W here on Checkmate.
Yes, that was the difference, because we saw it on the very first P5. Seattle Surge, they were set up early. They got the first 30 seconds, but Atlanta FaZe, they were able to break in, gain that remaining 30 seconds, and then tie the game up in the middle of that P1 hardpoint. It all came down to the play of aBeZy. And that's why I have this guy as one of those MVP candidates going into the end of the year, because just the pacing that he plays at. I'm pretty sure he just went like 30-something and 21. The guy was just on point. And the fact that he's just able to just cause so many problems for the opposite team, and doing it with a positive 10 KD with the pressure that he's on. The guy's just unreal, man. He wins some gunfights that are just mind-blowing to me, and you gotta just tip the hat to the young man because he's really good at Call of Duty.
Is what finishes off 34 and 24, puts in 5,900 damage. A great game for aBeZy. We talk about checkmate hardpoint oftentimes can be ruled by the ARs. Well, it's this aggro SMG who, of course, once more is able to add another highlight game to what is a very extensive reel at this moment. But big game coming through from aBeZy as Atlanta are able to answer in the opening hardpoint. It is now search and destroy on raid. Can Seattle level the score, or will Atlanta continue in the dominance? We will be back with Raid S&D up right after this.
The Call of Duty League is presented by the US Army. What's your warrior? USAA is made for gamers. Level up your gear protection with USAA Insurance.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Again, a nice start to the day. Atlanta FaZe getting the job done, specifically aBeZy getting the work done toward the later stages of that checkmate hardpoint. Goes big for the roster, and now Atlanta find themselves up quite firmly, I guess we could say, Study, so far throughout this series. You and I have talked constantly about Atlanta. We actually were talking to the break for just a moment during the commercial. And it's just a matter of like, I feel like Atlanta sometimes can get put in these tricky situations, but it's Arcitys, it's Cellium, it's Simp, it's aBeZy, who just one of them tends to go off, goes on a spree, and then from there, the entire game gets turned around.
And that's what's so scary about this team, is that when 3 players are not putting up the performance that we expect them to, there's always that one guy. There's always that one guy that's going to be able to go off for this team. And just looking at these KDs after the first 2 matches of each stage, everyone's over a 1.0 KD. This is kind of scary. Just look at stage 3. That is their lowest performance right there, because obviously throughout stage 3, they were playing a lot of maps that they were just trying to get better at. But the fact that consistently these guys are over 1.0 KD as a team in every stage, it just shows that these guys have no weakness, man. They're the best team in the game for a reason.
They absolutely are, and they show that. Like I said, in that checkmate hardpoint, I know we talk about kind of individuals, but it's overall this individual aspect that also caters into the teamwork. There's a number of different ways that they can attack you, and we talked about KDs. I mean, I know that doesn't tell the entire story, but throughout the entirety of the CDL so far, they lead in hardpoint KD, they lead in search and destroy KD, and they lead in control KD. So with that in mind, it is kind of terrifying, I guess, if you are any team to face off against this roster. But against that, getting into the search and destroys now, of course, we are headed to raid in specific for this one. And I believe I think you talked about it at the top of the show, FaZe, really the only team that they've struggled with is the Ultra. And you did that without even researching. I actually went back. I was like, you know, that sounds right. It's true. They have lost 4 times on raid, 3 of those losses to the Ultra. The only other loss that they have is to New York in a round 11. So the only team that's been able to figure them out is Toronto. Can Seattle do that now? A hard task, without a doubt, is Atlanta starting things off on attack.
Yeah, so on this map, Atlanta, like you said, they have 4 losses, so they're sitting at 5-4. On the opposite side, you have the Surge, who are 2-4. Prestinni opens up with the first blood, classic with the trade, and just like that, the Surge, they just come out and punch FaZe right in the mouth on that very first round, and they're able to walk away with that defensive hold, now up 1-0.
I do like the aggressiveness, man. I like the aggressiveness, because that exact phrase that you just mentioned was a phrase that aBeZy used once whenever they were facing off against the Ultra. He's like, hey, they came out and they basically just punched us. We didn't have the time to react. So at the very least, you know, if you are the Surge, answering early in that defense, as Gunless is able to find 2 in the round, and I'll see what Seattle have up their sleeves. Again, they did lose both of the search and destroys versus Thieves. I believe it was a 6-3 on standoff and a 6-1 on raid. So with that in mind, somewhat familiar with this, maybe gone back to the drawing board and have ironed a few things out. The nade toward Rock, definitely going to weaken a few players up. And with that, Cellium does go for the challenge. He finds the first and also takes down Prestinni. A quick challenge in from Octane is to look to level the score, but it is already Gunless left in a 1 versus 2 position known, brought down low in HP. The Big Pierce is at times full of clutch potential, and he gets the nice jump shot there onto aBeZy. Starting things off 4-0. Can he pull this one off?
With 40 seconds left, he has to work towards that bomb. And right now, Cellium has no information of where Gunless can possibly be. So with 30 seconds remaining, eventually this bomb has to get planted, but Cellium, he's playing that 50-50, making sure that he's staying towards this B-bomb site. I think he was able to spot him there towards that white van area. So now the engagement is going to be in. Gunless trying to challenge from the top. Great shots, and is able to walk away with the round in a 1v2 situation. The first kill on aBeZy was amazing. And then he takes his time to slowly work around the map, to gain some more map control, jump towards that top raid, and is able to outposition Cellium right there in that 2v1. Huge Ryan right there out of Gunless to clutch up and now put his team up 2-0.
Big P with the clutch, and obviously, like we said, starting things off 5-0. A great beginning there for him as Surge grabbed the first 2. I mean, what, in that 1 versus 1 situation, Stud, you feel like Cellium maybe should have used some better trigger discipline?
No, well, it's just difficult because Gunless, he was just in such a great position that he just took the map to him. Like, the fact that he was stuck on that white van, Cellium knows that a wall bang can come in on both angles. But just the fact that Gunless went on top of raid, just got a different angle on towards him, hit him with a couple better shots. It's just really difficult from that position to try to pick up that kill on towards top raid, so Gunless was able to walk away with it. But right there, Cellium was able to answer with 2. So now in a 3-2 situation, the Surge need to try to retake. The bomb plan is going to go down for Atlanta FaZe. Now Gunless working towards some streaks, already 6-0. He's trying to find the 7th. His life is valuable. I think even if you lose this round right here, if your teammate dies, you just stay alive if you're gunless, because streaks can really change this map.
Oh, when he tosses out the utility.
And that's unfortunate.
Oh my goodness, that has to hurt if you're the Surge, and they pick up Octane as well. A 2 versus 3 that, again, you're looking at Atlanta, cool, they grabbed the round, but what a difference that could have made. Gunless was able to grab the streaks. That would have just been 3 rounds of play. It just feels like it's been Cellium versus Gunless so far throughout these first 3 rounds of Raid, but Gunless finally does end up getting taken down, and FaZe are able to answer. You see, what, 6-1 from Gunless, 5-2 from Cellium. What, every other player on the map has 1 kill, stud. Every other player. It is literally Cellium versus Gunless so far.
So far, it's a good show. Yeah, you have your flex players going at it right now, so... Seany, we have seen that spot way too many times, and I know Atlanta FaZe are not going to give that one up easy. aBeZy is able to open up with the first blood, now forces it to a 3v4 for the Surge, and this is a map that they need to take, because we know that the struggles that they have had in control, if you go into that control, not tied at least 1-1 to extend the series, it's going to be really difficult for the Surge to try to bounce back, but first blood is going to go to FaZe. The bomb plant is coming in from Surge on towards that B bomb. No indication that nade going to get a hit marker, but aBeZy is able to immediately trade that. So now they have full bomb control. They know that both players from the Surge have to be on their side of the map. Octane's able to get 1, so now it's a 3v2 situation, and Gunless with the trade. So now they know where Octane is. 30 seconds left. He has to try to finesse. And I think he's done just that, but unfortunately, the Tiny Terrors, they both slide out the window. Really difficult to gunfight one of them, but if both of them are challenging you at the same time, it's automatically going to be a trade. And Atlanta FaZe, they take the retake and close out the round.
It was so funny, like, you just noticed at the end. Did he just make that? No, he didn't. He didn't just make that, right? I was looking away for a moment.
No,
okay, I was going to say, if he makes that on top of also winning the round, maybe they get another one on top of that. Regardless, though, it was funny because I think just looking at the ground, like, okay, where are these guys at? I know they just took down Gunless. They've got to be below me. But unfortunately, not the case. They just said the Tiny Terrors getting the nice retake and quickly answer at 2-2. And it just kind of gets me back to that conversation, man, of that control for Seattle. Like, how much importance this now puts on the S&D if you don't win the hardpoint, or even vice versa. Like, we talk about a team that is struggling so much in a particular mode. What, I think they're like 3-17 in control on the season. It just continues to echo how important it is to be a consistent roster. And, you know, we've seen teams at times try to master it, but oftentimes the rosters that do kind of sit toward the bottom of the standings, it does come down to that one game mode. And so far for Seattle, it has been that pesky game 3. His bomb plant may in fact be red. Prestinni taking down his twin brother Arcitys. Also lays down the trophy with enough time, but aBeZy quickly trying to go for the instant retake, trying to pick up from where his fallen comrade left off, as now we're left in a 4 versus 2 advantage for Surge. And really the only scary part for both of these teams is that we got Gunless alive and we still have Cellium. A much more difficult spot as Cellium's able to win it versus Gunless, a duel that we'll see quite a bit more, but it will be Surge with the overall man advantage, and they grab their 3rd.
And that one kind of hurts if you're Atlanta, because you throw that tactical, you try to gain some information if a player is going to be sitting towards the back of this B bomb site. And Prestinni, since he was on the 2nd level, basically hopped up just prone behind that rock. That flash does not indicate that he is there. So as soon as that flash comes in, he's able to trade that bomb player, put his teammate in advantage, throws a trophy on himself. Eventually, his teammates come to help him, and that was just great execution right there out of the Surge. Atlanta FaZe, that one's going to hurt. But now the Surge are on offense. It's going to look like it's going to be a fast push on towards this B-bomb. Seany's going to be taking his Michael Phelps straight through the water, opened up with the first blood onto his twin brother. aBeZy with the trade, so just like that, it went from a 4v3 to a 3v3. With bomb being down, Seattle, one player has to get out of position, but Simp, he hits the cut, able to get towards top window, all left up to Gunless. He's been having himself a map, but you have Cellium on the map, you have the Tiny Terrors. This is going to be a difficult task to get done.
Just trying to get an angle, just trying to find out where the first gun engagement can happen. aBeZy goes for the quick little challenge, but Julie just trying to set up his teammates. As you said, Gunless, a 9-3 game. Played so well, but a 1 versus 3. And this was just not going to go his way. You see him starting to get somewhat captured. There we go. Kind of the way that this round ends is also the way that it started. An aggressive beginning there for Seattle. You saw what Prestinni making his way through water. Gets the nice first blood there on the Arcitys, but it's the flank through water steps. It's the flank through back cutout where Simp is able to line up a few. Just when you like Seattle's chances to get up and aggressive, get in your face, it's Atlanta that are thinking ahead. Is it Simp who walks away with 3 in the round? And speaking of threes, we got ourselves up all tied up at 3-3. And I guess if you're Seattle, you're liking the way that they've been able to keep up so far throughout this game, Stud, but we'll see how they can continue to be problematic. As Gunless once more in the opening engagement is able to find it there versus aBeZy.
So he gets that first blood, so now Seattle know that they have the information. Simp with some great shots onto Classic, not able to get the second. But Arcitys was able to spot Octane, so the team shots are going to come in, and just like that, it goes from a 3v2 to a 2v2. Gunless is still in towards this money window area. Prestinni is going to be holding the middle map towards that P5. But they're trying to get aggressive towards Gunless. 2 baddies playing an off angle, able to spot Cellium. Now it's all left up to Arcitys in a 1v2 situation.
Tweeted this out not long ago. How great has Arcitys been in these clutch moments recently for Atlanta? Seems he's leading in KD. He's had the biggest change up from stage 2 to stage 3 for his team. Not able to get it done there. I believe it once more. It was Gunless putting in the work as he and Prestinni able to win out in the family affair. It was Cellium with the best play, but once more, Seattle being crafty. And what, to kind of start off the season, Stud, Seattle, this was their backbone game mode. Like, they kind of struggled in a number of different areas, but Search and Destroy was really where they found their grit. And I guess if you talk about composition, Classic kind of fills in a role similar to Looney in terms of what he's able to do for the roster. And that very well could be kind of a similar makeup, which has allowed for this team to be better in this mode in particular.
Yeah, definitely, man. Classic's just doing the dirty work. Like I said, he's that bomb carrier. He's going to be the player that's watching flanks and just initiating the pushes for the surge. So the bomb is going to go down towards B, but the only difference is you have aBeZy who's working that late flank. He's able to spot Prestinni. Is he able to read this play? He's going to check it, but Prestinni with some great shots, able to win that engagement, force it to a 3v3 situation. With 25 seconds left, Atlanta FaZe, they need to start putting on the pressure towards his bedroom area, and that's exactly what's going to happen. Cellium able to get that kill onto Gunless, but time is starting to tick. They need to try to locate both players. Prestinni's going to get that trade. Now it's Simp in a 1v1 versus Prestinni. He's able to win it. Now it's all about playing the clock correctly versus his twin brother. You had me last time, but I'm going to come out on top this time. Prestinni's able to clutch up the 1v2 situation and now put his team at 5-3.
How about the plays from Prestinni? We talked about it to start off the day. Classic comes onto this team. It just kind of continues to put the other 3 in a spotlight. How can they perform? Now with one of the most unselfish players in the game now on their team, and they've stepped up in a number of different ways. This time around, it was Prestinni. I believe finds 3 in the round, and well, he isn't able to find, like you said, his good old twin brother Arcitys. It was the round victory nonetheless, as Seattle now finding themselves in commanding position 5-3. A lot of pressure going down toward B. I feel like we've even yet to see the A bomb in our last, what, good 5 or 6 rounds. But here we go again. This time it's the ARs. Arcitys and Cellium putting in the work early. And it will come down once more to the ARs to try and get the job done. A quick 2v4 here for the Surge.
Simp's going to win a great gunfight onto Octane, so now it's a 1v4 situation for Gunless. He's having himself a map currently sitting at 12-5, but 1v4 situation is a really difficult task to get done. Some great shots. Unfortunately, Arcitys with better. He's able to walk away with that engagement. And that was one thing, is that when I was looking at the stats for Atlanta FaZe, Arcitys was sitting at 1-5. And he's one of the more consistent S&E players that we have in the game. It was only a matter of time to see him just start picking up kills, and he's able to find 2 on that round. That puts him at 4-6. And now they're staying alive, with the Surge still only 1 round away from closing this out.
I want to ask you, right? Surge find themselves up 5-3. Now it's 5-4. What do you want to see Seattle do now in this offense? How do they close it out in this round, Stud?
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I would like to see them go towards B, but they're going to change this up and completely catch Atlanta FaZe off guard. So they're gonna commit towards this A-bomb site. They're taking control of ring, but Cellium, some great shots on the Octane, is able to get the first blood, so he knows that the pressure is gonna be on him. So about just trying to get out with your life, and he's able to do so. Sets up his teammate in Arcitys. Such a great bait and switch right there. So now it's a 4v2 situation. But Gunless knows if Simp's coming, aBeZy's got to be there as well. So now he's able to back down. Now in a 3v2 situation, the challenge is going to come in, and Cellium takes down Classic, takes down Gunless, and just like that, Atlanta FaZe forced it to a round 11.
Oh man, just when we talk about what can the Surge do. 5-3 down to 5-5, and of course, it is MC putting in the work toward the end of the round. We gotta see what the KDs are. What, 13-7 for Gunless, 12-6 for Cellium. Obviously, you've seen the impact of other players on the map. Obviously, for the Surge, maybe not as consistent, but here we go into the round 11. Can it be 3 straight for FaZe? It is back to the offensive side, and it's Cellium once more. 13-6, his 5th kill in a row. As Seattle somewhat hobbling their way over to A, and that push in some ways has been stopped. It's been silenced for the moment, and with this position that Simp has, he could easily cause some problems. He's got players watching his back towards Zig. Classic, with the loss of Prestinni, doesn't have that fast SMG to work with. He's not going to have as much information to go off of, and that's why the push has halted the way that it has so far, Stud. You see Classic, he's just not confident yet.
Yeah, Atlanta FaZe that just have map control. And you see the Surge players, especially at number 4 in Gunless, he's just trying to be anticipating one of the players from Atlanta FaZe to hit that flank. But with 30 seconds left, eventually the bomb has to start getting work towards that A site. You see both players from Atlanta FaZe backing up, making sure that they're keeping control of jungle, keeping control of that tree. They're going to try to do this on a 4v3 retake. They're allowing that bomb to get planted, but the pinch is going to come in. So with 45 seconds left, Seattle are down a man. See how Atlanta decide to approach this. They're going to have 3 players pushing towards back laundry. Unfortunately, Gunless not able to close out on that kill, but Simp is here. And now the trade is in. Simp with some great shots, trying to find the dirt into Gunless. But don't worry, Cellium's going to be there. And just like that, Atlanta FaZe are able to rally 3 rounds in a row to close out map number 2. And now put them up 2-0 in the series. Just a great performance from Atlanta FaZe in that Surge and Destroy in those final moments.
Again, it's in the clutch moments. You said 3 rounds straight, and how poetic, right? It comes down to the final engagement. Simp, of course, having one of the bigger impacts of the round, but it is Cellium versus Gunless. Obviously had the support of the team, but a battle that went all the way throughout the Search and Destroy goes continually the way of FaZe. They just continue to answer, Stud, in these big moments. We start to count them out in the hard point, they bring it back. We count them out in the Search and Destroy, and they're able to bring it back once more. A 4-game losing streak on Raid, Search and Destroy, and now we come into a control up next, my friend, which has treated Seattle by no means kindly so far throughout the year.
Yeah, and it really hasn't, man. Now that they lose that map number 2, they're 0-2 once again in the series, going into their worst game mode, which they're 3-17 on the year. And just going back into that S&D, when they were on their offensive pushes, like I said, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Like, don't take that, but we didn't see them go towards that A-bomb the entire game, and then the last 2 offensive pushes, they decided to be committed towards it, and it just really hurt them right there. If they probably would have went towards B, because that's the thing that Atlanta FaZe were really struggling with shutting down, they'd probably be able to close it out, but they call that play call. It was completely different, and Atlanta FaZe, perfect counter, able to close it out with 3 straight.
Absolutely, my friend. Like we said, just in these big moments, Atlanta, they've been able to respond so far, of course, now finding themselves up 2-0. But kind of on topic with that Search and Destroy, let's go and take a look at our U.S. Army tactical play. This one coming in round 11. So we talked about what Seattle did wrong. Tell me, what did Atlanta do right in this particular round?
So right here, once again, they take control of that middle map, but they have that number 8 player, which is aBeZy, takes control of water steps. So once he spots that no players are there, Cellium from that back laundry is able to open up with the first blood. So the fact that they're keeping water steps, they're keeping mid-map control, they know exactly where Seattle Surge are trying to execute this play. So they let the bomb go down towards that A-bomb. They allow the retake to come in. They fully commit 3 players towards the backside of laundry. And this is where Simp completely throws him off guard, because he's able to run out the side, able to get 2, and then it's all left up to Gunless in a 1v4 situation. The trade comes in, and Atlanta FaZe, they just took their time. No one got overzealous. No one tried to be an individual playmaker. And they retake it properly in a 4v3 situation.
Like we said, it was Cellium with 14. It was also in the later stages Gunless with 14. Just all about the teammate support as a big W yet again here in the Atlanta FaZe camp as they find themselves up 2-0. It is a control on Garrison. Can Seattle finally end out this streak? It's been 8 losses in a row in control. Can today be where they change it up, or will FaZe continue to parade in what will possibly be a 3-0? Make sure to stay with us as it is Gary Control right up after this.
Call of Duty League is presented by T-Mobile, now America's largest and fastest 5G network. Set your sights on the competition with T-Mobile, the leader in 5G. Scuff, the official controller of the Call of Duty League. Seany, the official eyewear for the CDL. Armor your eyes with Seany Blocks blue light protection glasses by visiting seany.com/gaming.
Hi everybody, and welcome back to the Florida Home Series. It is day 1 in Series 1, and it's time to talk a little bit more about Seattle Surge. They find themselves in the hole down 0-2. A big advantage in the hard point for a moment, a 5-3 advantage in the search and destroy, yet they were not able to walk away with it. But when we talk about kind of the mixture of this team, it also kind of follows in that same pattern. At times great, at times they begin to falter. You notice the major difference from, stage 1 to stage 3. The stage 2, of course, was a great one for them. We think, hey, maybe things are starting to turn around, and they come into stage 3, and it was not all the case.
Yeah, definitely wasn't, man. Stage 1 obviously was the learning point for this team. Stage 2, they were showing improvements. Then stage 3 is when that roster change came in. Everything was just not clicking for the Surge, so obviously the stats are looking a little different, but you can just tell when Prestinni's not playing well, Gunless is not playing well, and both of those guys are basically a 1-2 punch. They need to be playing consistent for this team to have success, and now they find themselves in a situation where they're down 0-2 going into their worst game mode to try to win this one, and it's going to be really difficult.
Yeah, it's hard to ignore, of course, our Scuff quick scope 3-17 control record. And I want to ask you, Stud, from your perspective, of course, longtime professional player, what do you think that the comms are right now in the Surge camp? You're coming into a control. I mean, do you think that there is kind of this added pressure coming into a mode like this, or do you think that it's more of a matter of hey, we've lost as much as we have, it's just a matter of trying to get a W? Where do you think the mindset is for Seattle now that they come into a control versus the best team in the mode?
Yeah, I don't think that they have, any pressure on them because, like you said, they are the worst team in the game mode. So, if they win it, it'll be a miracle. It'll be a surprise because they've just been struggling with it the entire year. You said it. They're going up against the best team in this game mode for Atlanta FaZe. And the only thing that's a bright spot for the Seattle Surge is that the 3 wins they have in control are all on Garrison.
Hey.
So, they have to be feeling really confident to at least get it here. But Atlanta FaZe, they're 10-3 on this map. Just the pressure that they were able to put on in that map number 1, specifically aBeZy, he needs to be shut down on this map for a Seattle Surge to stay alive here.
Oh man, here we go, into the Garrison. Start by how there is no pressure on this team. It's just a matter of is trying to turn the tide a little bit. And the reason why I ask is really just because there's just been so much talk, right, you know, on the Seattle roster just in regards to, oh, you know, it's an 8-game losing streak. It's an 8-game loss streak in control. They're 0-8 on raid, you know, control. Just a number of different things. And I guess at times, you know, it is always interesting to kind of know how the social media side of things, how even just the overall talk around things can kind of influence players from moment to moment. But as we said for FaZe, rock solid in these clutch moments to start, as coming into this game 3, Garrison control for them has treated them quite nicely. A 10-3 record on this map. He's already into the thick of things. FaZe for a moment looking pretty good, trying to go for the defense as Octane as he'll walk away with a nice double. 30 seconds left. Atlanta got to make a push here soon.
Yeah, so the Surge, they have done such a great job at just keeping the pressure on, keeping the map control in their favor, and just forcing Atlanta FaZe to try to win engagements in uncomfortable positions. And they were able to find 3, so now the opening is going to be towards that B point. But Gunless able to find 2. He's going to continue that clock on ticking. 13 seconds remaining. You see Arcitys. He's going to have to try to slow this down, win a couple engagement towards this A point, able to win the first. The pinch is going to come in from the top, and he sets up his teammate perfectly. So that's going to be 3 down. Progression coming in towards this A point. The first tick is in, and you see what Atlanta FaZe are doing. They're committed to closing this one out because it's a lot easier to cap that B point solo. So they're going to have multiple people here. That's another 3 down. And when we thought that the Surge had a great defensive hold, Atlanta FaZe are able to break through. Arcitys having himself a map already on a 6 spree. They have that time already gained from that A point. They have a 7 live advantage, and progression is already coming in towards that B point.
And Gunless is trying to save the point right now. He's the farthest pushed up player. He drops and now quickly comes on to Octane. Nearly 2 ticks through, pulls out the SMG, and unfortunately, he's not able to make that work either. Just 1 more tick away before this round going the way of Atlanta as they stack it, and it will go their way.
Man.
Once more. We cannot talk about it enough. It is the late stages. It's these final pushes that Atlanta just continue to win. And I'll be honest with you, Stud, like when Arcitys was initially at this point, it was a quick 1 versus 2, and it just seemed as if like nobody was aware of the fact they know that he's grabbing time. But nobody looks in his direction. You got 2 players, both of them looking toward top green. That play sets up what would be kind of a rolling effect over at that point, and then echoes into the other side of the map. Just little moments once more where you just see the teamwork from Seattle just not being on point in these big moments.
Yeah, so yeah, in that 2v1 situation, Octane, he came out of that side bricks area, was just basically watching towards top green, but he was allowing his teammate to try to put that pressure on towards back tank. But Arcitys did such a great time at stalling the time and allowing his teammates to eventually jump towards top green and set up that pinch. But you already see on this offensive push for the Surge, they start off with 3 kills, early progression on towards this B point. Atlanta FaZe, they're able to slow that down with 3 players going in their favor. Last player is going to be Classic on towards that B point. The contest is going to be in. Classic is going to drop in. Just when we thought that the Surge were going to be able to extend this clock by an extra minute, Atlanta get in.
Simp doing the nice dirty work as well. Removing the trophies. Based on how good the trophies are, man, I think that you might have to add those into the kill streaks from time to time. They are...
Possibly.
They
do so much
dastardly.
damage.
At least give like a 0.5, you know, at that point. But all jokes aside, Surge maybe starting to stack over toward this B point. Ever close. Securing this one over at B. Trophies or not, Prestinni will be there to celebrate what is a point captured. But minute 48 on the clock. Oftentimes on Garrison, we do see that B point cap first, and it's really just a matter of how can you find that look over at A. Is it going to be toward top green, or can it be on the flank toward bricks? A well-seasoned team in Atlanta continuing to hold on to live that mid-map presence. Simp falls, and that could potentially be one of the groundwork kills to set up a nice little flank here from Surge.
Yeah, and the Surge are trying to commit around this backside towards bricks. They're sending all 4 players. That number 4 player in Gunless is just making sure the pinch doesn't come in from top green. But Classic able to open up the first onto Simp. Gonna spawn him all the way out towards that back tank area. So now the pressure has to come in. They cannot allow Simp to get back into this play. He's able to get 1. And now the last 2 players from the Surge are going to be in their base. Classic's going to drop, so it's all left up to Prestinni. He has to try to stall some time. He has to try to just finesse his way around this back area. Unfortunately, Cellium is going to spot him. And win that engagement. So all the map control that the Surge just had just got shut down, and now it's time to put on the pressure if you're Atlanta FaZe.
It is indeed. Maybe it's Arcity's turn to begin to erupt. Tosses out the nade. Always a fun battle to watch, but it's Arcitys is able to win this particular battle versus Prestinni. Now sitting on 4 in a row. 25 seconds left for Surge. Can they even get past the 50-yard line? Classic with the best potential to do it. Very well may have found the lane. Makes his way in toward top green, and now all Arcitys can do is really just watch from a distance, just fire out a few shots, but it's Cellium there for the quick reply, finds the double, and now Prestinni having to lead the way for the crew. Now it all comes down to Gunless, the search and destroy battle that transfers to the control. And speaking of it, it is all around dominance from Atlanta toward the stretch, all around dominance for Cell.
They just do such a great job at just holding that first push. And they do an even better job at once they shut down that push, they take complete map control. They force the Seattle Surge players to come off spawn and have to worry about Arcitys, have to worry about aBeZy, who was all the way pushed up towards that bottom floating tank. And it was just really difficult because Atlanta FaZe, they don't make many mistakes. And the time where they allowed that player to go through that backside bricks, open up that first blood, the pinch needs to be there a little faster for the Surge. Unfortunately, they allow Simp to come off spawn, get back into the play, get a kill, and then eventually shuts down that push for the Seattle Surge. So they find themselves down 2-0 in the series. Now, down 2-0 in this map number 3. They need to just come alive, man. They need to show improvements in this game mode.
It's just so hard, right, when you're facing off against a team like Atlanta, who've won their last 6 controls, and and I think in those 6 victories, rather in their last 8 victories, good majority of those have been 3-0s as well. 9-1 in their last 10, I'm being told. So again, they're
taking A again.
And an easy thing to try to overcome.
They're doing the hard stuff. They're doing the hard things right off the rip. And this is not what we see teams do often. We don't see teams commit towards the A point like the way Atlanta FaZe have done now on 2 different offenses. So now the Surge, that's going to be another 2 down. They're allowing FaZe to just early get on towards this B point. aBeZy's winning this gunfight all the way across the map. Make it 2, but Classic, he's able to shut down the players from Atlanta FaZe on towards that point. The streaks are coming in. Keep in mind, Cellium still does have that artillery, and this is looking really bad right now for the Surge.
It is indeed, my friend. That was a great call. I'm glad that you mentioned that, right? They're doing the hard stuff. They know that they have the ability to take over that A point. You just kind of tell, like, they have the slaying freedom. They know that they have the ability to do things because of the players that they have on this team. By the way, Cellium, nice little 9 spree. You know, we just don't really kind of point out things as often as we should. 9 in a row for Cell. Took over in the search and destroy and has continued on into this mode as well. See if he can make it 10. We've seen quite a few sprees actually on Garrison, and thank you for the 10th. Reaches double digits, and is that the kill that puts the nail in the coffin here to this series, into this map? A few players trying to make their way from green. Octane in from lights. Octane wins the initial battle, but that's 2 ticks through. aBeZy's there for the help and the support. Moments away from this series being done. The Seattle collapse, possibly onto the point. It could very well come down to aBeZy. He's grabbing time, goes for the quick challenge, but greeted by 2 other players of the Surge. It just feels like we're just moments away from this one being locked up, but Seattle continued to battle. And what a moment this could be for the Surge if they were able to secure this round, but Classic gets dropped from the back again. Once more, it comes onto the shoulders of Octane. Pulling down lights, gun, Cellium.
Shots.
And with that makes things that much more difficult, but it's the flank. It's the tiny tears and assistance, as that's going to be the 3rd for Simp. And could that be the 3rd round? Gunless lighting it up himself. And has it finally been the time with 2 lives left? It will be a 3-0 in control and a 3-0 in the series for Atlanta.
They're just too good, man. They're just way too good, man. They just come in and handle business. They play maps that they're not really comfortable with, like that checkmate hardpoint, like the raid S&D, which is the only one that majority of the time they lost to Toronto. But it's just hard, man, because Atlanta FaZe is just way too good. It was David versus Goliath here, and the Goliath walks away on top, man. As we expected, that's going to be the 10th sweep on the season for Atlanta FaZe. These guys are just insane, man, from top to bottom. And the fact that throughout that map number 3, they were doing the hard things first. They went out and got 8 point right off the rip, not once, but twice. And they forced the Seattle Surge to basically just not fight for map control, just to force themselves out of bricks to win those engagements. And it allowed FaZe to just pick up some streaks, pick up some early time, and then eventually execute both offensive rounds beautifully, man. It was great to see from Atlanta FaZe in this 3-0 series.
It's so much like, it's so interesting to see the stats, Steve, because it's just, there's so many different results that you can take with Atlanta. We start with their second straight 6-0, or rather their second straight 3-0. I mean, just a number of different things. But for Seattle, on the more bitter end, 9-match losing streak. An unfortunate loss here is what I think that they tie the second highest losing streak in CDL history. Paris had 9 back in MW, and I believe it was Minnesota who had 10 back in Modern Warfare as well. But a bitter end, way to lose that one for Surge. And I want to ask you, Stud, as we take a look at this final scorecard here, as we kind of reflect back on this series, what's the headline? Like, what's the tweet? Obviously, for those analysts out there, what's the tweet? What's the headline after a series like this, specifically on the Surge end?
On the Surge end, I guess the headline you gotta be is like, we're currently dead last in the league. We're not good at search and destroy. We're not good at control. We might be world's worst. Exactly, right there. We might be world's worst. And right now, the Seattle Surge, they're not clicking, man. Their S&D's not on point. They were up 5-3. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. They should have committed towards that B-bomb a little bit more. And then in that control, they just show what we expected out of these guys. They're the worst team that we have throughout this game mode, and it's just not been good from the Surge, and they're still sitting at 50 points all the way in the 12th spot. It's not looking good for them trying to head towards the end of the year at Champs.
It's definitely not, my friend. A hard loss to have, especially when talking about a new roster change, things of that nature. But we have to revisit that last control, of course, for our scuff play of the game. And a guy that we've been talking about a number of different times recently for this Atlanta FaZe team has been Arcitys. And he, once again, is the player kind of the moment. We talked about this earlier round. This is kind of the play that we were breaking down. 2 players looking toward green, and really, this was kind of the echo effect throughout this round. Stud, from here, Arcitys is able to secure the kills. He's able to obviously walk away with the time alongside of the teammates. And then A would then go into B. And then from there, it was the spiral.
Yeah, it was all just Arcitys just taking control of top green, getting on to this point. And eventually, like you said, both players from the Surge coming out of inner bricks, focusing towards top green, just allowed his teammates to be able to jump up there and get that trade. And then Arcitys was never contested on towards that point, so he was able to pick up some streaks, able to close at that point, basically by himself.
I didn't hear you.
And it was just really difficult, man, because the Surge, they had opportunities, they just couldn't execute at the end.
Fortunately, not able to execute here. As you see, Atlanta, like we said, 3 wins to start off stage 4. Still have the Thieves and the Røkkr to face off against, and obviously for the Surge side, not looking as clean when we talk about the way that they have started things off. Of course, they dropped that series versus LA Thieves. That one goes down to a game 5. They dropped the 3-0 here, and still have Røkkr, OpTic, and Legion to face off against to kind of keep in mind how important the group is. We talked about a number of different victories. Starting off 0-2, though, can really start to cause some problems when we talk about what is needed. You kind of need to reach that 3 map to be able to secure things. But it is the ever happy Alec getting the nice W there. Love to see it. It is Lottie, joined alongside by Arcitys when we come back after the break.
The Call of Duty League is brought to you by GameFuel. Unlock a CDL team pack with any purchase on gamefuel.com/CDL while supplies last. Offer ends on August 31st. Tournament audio and team listen-ins are powered by Astro Gaming, the official headset and mix amp of the Call of Duty League.
Hello everybody and welcome to your Game Fuel Victory Spotlight. Joining me, I have the captain of the ship of Atlanta FaZe. I got Arcitys on the mic. Arcitys, first of all, congratulations on the big dub yet again. It's so great to see you back in the chair for another winner interview, and I always love having you on board here. And I want to dig deep in the brain of the captain here. I got to know, obviously the veto system that you guys had against Surge, you threw in a few maps that maybe aren't your strongest. They're not looking bad, don't get me wrong, but they're not your strongest in the vetoes. I got to know, are you extending that map pool to be a little bit deeper on the road to the next major? You know, what is kind of the tactic behind that?
Oh, of course, but have you seen my brother on APOC? I'm not trying to deal with that right now, so obviously Checkmate Hardpoint, we haven't seen them play that much, we haven't played that much, but we're obviously like, we like that map a lot, but obviously the main focus was APOC recently, so we just been getting red Checkmate over and over, but again, Prestinni on APOC is different, so he's a different beast.
That is very true. And speaking of Prestinni as well, we always love talking to you about your brother. What is it like to play against him? Does it add a little bit of extra fuel on the fire when you do match up?
I mean, yeah. Did you see last year? That was a fun.
I did.
So
I was there.
I'm making sure we're not going all the way up there right now. So we're keeping it down here. We're not gonna get emotional. We're not gonna do that. I call him Prestinni in game now because screw him. But nah, it's just. We got the crybaby stuff out of the way. We're competitive people. We just want to be the best team we can, and I have nothing but respect for the CL Surge. Absolutely.
You know what? Last year had me crying too, Alex. So we can't be doing that again. My makeup can't handle that type of stuff. But I'll tell you what. In our open today, we actually talked about MVP candidates, and tell you what. All of us had at least one FaZe player up there. So I got to know from your perspective, who's the MVP? Do you think of your team?
Which day? Which day of the week is it? What, today's Thursday?
I feel you, bro.
Sunday I got Cell. Saturday I got Chris. I don't know. It doesn't matter. They're all talented. They all take turns going off. Obviously, like the first two maps I didn't do that good, so I said, Gary, control. Let me step it up for you guys real quick. Give him a little wink, you know.
I love it. Of course, that's what they need, Alex. That's what they need. I appreciate that, and that is why you guys are the best of the best. Thank you so much for joining me once again. And I don't think I need to wish you luck at this point, but go on and do what you guys do best.
Thank you.
Well, there you have it. We've heard from himself, Arcitys. I absolutely love speaking to this guy. He always brings something fresh to the table here. Hope you guys are enjoying the ride right now, but don't worry, it's not stopping anytime soon. We have another banger coming up after this break. We got LAG taking on Dallas Empire. It is time to step things up with this match. Is it going to go all the way? We'll find out after the break.
Call of Duty League is presented by T-Mobile, now America's largest and fastest 5G network. Set your sights on the competition with T-Mobile, the leader in 5G. Scuff, the official controller of the Call of Duty League. Seany, the official eyewear for the CDL. Armor your eyes with Seany Blocks blue light protection glasses by visiting seany.com/gaming.
Hi everybody, and welcome back to day one of the Florida home series. We just got done with a quick series. We're hoping for a much better one. It's a good old grudge match between the Dallas Empire and the LA Guerrillas. It's Lano and Standy guiding you guys through the action. But before we kind of dive deeper into this, we got to talk primarily about Dallas. Standy, coming into this particular series, you see the first three major results. They go from second to third, and then at the last major, they finish top 8. I feel like one of the major talking points coming into this series is a matter of, can they find their footing now with Vivid? How important is this series, and then trying to achieve that goal of finding their footing?
I feel like this is a really important series, not only for the Dallas Empire, but for a player like Vivid. He's going up against his old team in LAG. He knows all the ins and outs, all the play calls, everything. So he should be able to go positive this series. Because so far, the guys had a 0.6 for this team, and it just hasn't been good. You need to be that Slayer submachine gun that makes this team great. Because when they put out Hook, they expected Felony to come in, or at least iLLeY to switch that role, but then they get Felony out of here. They bring back Vivid, and now Vivid, he has to be able to perform. He needs to be one of those SMG players that are able to put up those numbers, and a match like this today versus his old team can definitely be the spark of it.
Without a doubt, my friend, very well laid out, and now it's time to go ahead and meet our teams. The first one we're going to be taking a look at, of course, is your defending world champions. We talked about the Dallas Empire, their third match with Vivid. They're looking to try and be crowned once again, but there's many hurdles and in trying to achieve what is a very, very difficult title. But again, let's go ahead and meet the roster. A big series for them, the Dallas Empire.
Dallas Empire have smashed the gates open.
Fella with the round 1 ace. Oh, it's a shot punch.
Oh no! Once again, they saved the day.
And there you have it, your Dallas Empire. I mean, what's that? It's a number of different ways we could go about this. We start with the new addition of Vivid, now his third series with the team. We've talked about the stats. I'm sure everybody's probably aware of it now. Not a great start for Dallas, and despite going 1-1, we start with the recent loss from the Ultra, and then prior to that, a very, very close game with London that went all the way down to a Game 5.
Yeah, and it's just really difficult when you talk about this team, because obviously they're sitting at 1-1 throughout stage 4. The series versus Toronto told me a lot about what this team is. Like, because when you go up against the big dogs, you need to be able to perform, and it just not only was Vivid, but it was also Shotzzy. And this is a guy, when you pick up a player like Vivid, when they sat Hook down, they expected Shotzzy to be that Hall of Fame, that MVP kind of SMG player. But so far, he hasn't answered the call. He's sitting on a 0.88, and him and Vivid, that 1-2 punch needs to be on point today.
Definitely does. And when we start with the other side, we start with the SMG line. It also needs to be on point for this roster as well. Again, we talked about a team that made a change. They decided to put Vivid on the bench. Dallas Empire later joins that team. A roster that is all about structure. A roster that is also trying to bring themselves back up in the standings ahead of that fourth major. Let's go and meet the roster, LAG.
When my friends go, it was simple. When the ends low, switch the tempo. I got right, I got heart, I won't die, I'ma fight. I go down, bet I strike, I go hard day and night. Money on the line, keep calling. Money on the books, need all that. My kids, they'll be ballin'. Got a real bankroll, not for Instagram. My mama on the line, keep calling. Praying for me, know I need all that. Told me it's not about ballin'. Real blessed, but I'm still sinning, man. I got right, I got heart, I won't die, I'ma fight. I go down, bet I strike, I go hard day and night.
And there you have it, your LA Guerrillas. I mean, what's that? A lot of people coming into this series A majority of them have been talking about, hey, Guerrillas, they got a really good chance to steal this series. There have been a number of different people who have kind of gone out there and said, hey, I'm picking Guerrillas in this particular series, just kind of given how Dallas have looked lately. I got to ask you, how do you think that LAG do this? How do you think they come out today versus Dallas?
I think that they come out and they win a respawn, and that's just something that they struggled with in their last matchup versus New York. They came out and won the search and destroy, but they lost both hard points and they lost that control. So they need to just show some consistency in the respawn game modes. And just taking a little bit of stats from that last match versus NYSL, the only player over 1.0, and it wasn't like a regular 1.0, it was a 1.2, was Chino. And the fact that he kept those stats up throughout an entire crazy series versus New York, you just need more better performances out of the rest of your teammates. You need aBeZy, you need Cellium to really come out and just be on point today. So that's going to take us right into our keys to victory presented by Game Fuel for LAG. SMGs will set the pace today. aBeZy and Cellium need to be on point. Combined versus NYSL, they were both sitting at -48, and that's just not good. I'm pretty sure they were both sitting around a consistent 0.7. It's just not good out of the SMG play. Then Respawn needs to improve for them to be true competitors. They are 12th in the CDL in hardpoint and 10th currently in that control game mode. And then they also need to bring that energy. Players can feed off the hype. A lot of that relies on an early map victory, and we saw it. When this team wins, you see how Chino gets. Chino's like, I'm the best player in the game. And like me having past play with aBeZy, with me playing with aBeZy before, I was always that guy that was hyped. So when you know you have that energy on your team, it's going to obviously bring the best out of Chino, but it's also going to bring the best out of aBeZy. So they need to be on point today.
Yeah, and it was kind of surprising when we were looking at the stats for them versus New York. It was almost like shocking to see that aBeZy and Cellium just did not perform the way kind of that we expect them to, on a consistent basis, specifically a player like aBeZy. But it is going to be a tall task. Now our Game Fuel keys to victory here for the Dallas Empire. What, man, he had a total turnaround today from Vivid. He ended last week with a 0.63 overall KD after their 2 series. Also, cannot allow for control to continue to be a weakness. Much like Seattle, this team is also on a control losing streak as they have lost their last 8 in a row and also have not won since the Hook trade. Also to go along with that, Shotzzy, he has to take over and lead by example in the slang. So far, he has a 0.88 KD in stage 4. And I guess kind of continuing off of that, Stud, how much of this series do you think relies on Shotzzy? How important of a factor does he play in this series?
I feel like he's really important because we saw for LAG, they tend to struggle with the SMGs playing well. That's why when they went up against New York, it was really hard to beat them in a respawn because you got HyDra and Asim were just running around the entire time picking up kills. So the way you're going to cause them problems, it comes in the respawns. You need your SMG players to play well. No 0.6 out of Vivid, no 0.8 out of Shotzzy. Shotzzy needs to be the all-star today, and Vivid, he needs to be consistent over 1.0. And the fact that he's going up against his old team, like I said, he's got all the strats. He's got the playbook basically written down in his brain, so he should be able to provide that for his team now.
And I want to ask you too, obviously I'm sure you've been in this position before where, you maybe been dropped by a team and then you later on go to face off against them. I mean, given... I know you've been through it a few times, but I guess kind of given Vivid's perspective, you're looking to find some stability. Now you're facing off against your old team, a lot of pressure on your shoulders. What should be the mindset of Vivid in this match, you think?
I think if you're looking at it the way I looked at it, it's like every time that I got dropped, I felt like I was the player that didn't deserve to get dropped. So it just adds this extra fuel of fire that you can it's just a different feeling, man. So for Vivid, it's all about just coming like, hey, you guys made a mistake. So I'm going to show you why you made the mistake, and he's going to come out and perform today. So that is what I can compare, at least from my perspective, from me formerly playing. It was always against Nameless for some reason. He always dropped me, and I always come back and beat him. But for Vivid, he's just going to come out and just show his old teammates why that roster change was just wrong.
I'm just imagining Nameless right now, just sitting in the green room with the Arthur meme, just fist maybe clenched a little bit. But no, all jokes aside, let's go take a look now at our quick scope presented by Scump, a major series for both of these teams, and you can kind of notice the weaknesses on both sides. Obviously the hard point favoring Dallas. Search and destroy department, that one goes the way of the Guerrillas. And when we get into this control, again, 12-16 record out of the Dallas Empire. But that is not keeping in mind that at one point they were 12-8. They have lost their last 8 controls to now allow for that mode to be a weakness, Stud. And what we got a hardpoint, search, destroy, and control listed here. What is the blueprint for a roster like LAG in this matchup?
I think it's going to come down to the opening hard point, because I feel like LAG, they're just going to be a lot better or more well-rounded when it comes to the S&D game mode. And even though Dallas Empire in the series that they took versus London, they won both Search and Destroys. And LAG, even though they lost the series versus NYSL, they won the S&D. So I feel like for LAG, if they can come out and win that opening hard point, build that momentum, bring that energy going into that map number 2, I feel like they have a good chance of taking this one.
Alrighty, folks. Well, I think we've set the stage quite well, just going through our final server test. But make sure that, folks, stay with us. It is the Dallas Empire taking on the LA Guerrillas, a series that is set to have it all. When we come back after the break, it is Raid Hardpoint to start this bad boy off.
This is your Scump Team of the Week, a super team built with 4 of the top performers at the most recent event. 3 players were selected by the league and 1 was selected by fan vote. Stick around till the end to find out who made the team. First up, it's Skies, the main AR of the Florida Mutineers. The Mutineers started off their stage 4 with a bang. They had a clean 3-0 win over the London Royal Ravens and a huge 3-2 upset over the Toronto Ultra. The entire team showed up to play, but it was Skies who really stood out on the roster. Skies performed exceptionally well across the respawns and earned the 4th highest overall KD of the week. His best performance came in Florida's match versus the Royal Ravens when he dropped a huge 1.41 KD versus the London squad. Next up, it's Mack of the New York Subliners. The Subliners only had 1 match to play this week, but it was a good one for them. The team had a relatively comfortable 3-1 win over the LA Guerrillas, not a surprise considering the numbers that Mack was putting up. He did so well in this one series that it propelled him to the top of multiple KD rankings of the week. Not only did Mack earn the highest overall KD of the week, he also earned the highest control KD in addition to the highest hardpoint KD. Our third player, Simp of the Atlanta FaZe. Simp's been on so many episodes of Scump Team of the Week that it's more unusual not to see him on the roster. Simp has consistently posted some of the best individual stats from event to event, and the first week of Stage 4 was no different. After Atlanta FaZe's 2 matches this week, Simp logged the 6th highest overall KD of the field, a tough feat for a second SMG on a team with an insane amount of firepower. Simp's usually the one filling in the gaps for his team, but one map where he really went off was FaZe's first map versus the Paris Legion, where he went 34-20 on Garrison Hardpoint. And finally, selected by fan vote, it's aBeZy of the Atlanta FaZe. Along with Simp, aBeZy makes up the other half of Atlanta FaZe's SMG duo. When it comes to the difference between the two, Simp is the one filling in the gaps for Atlanta, and aBeZy is the one punching the gaps in the opposite team. When you're up against a player like this, it's hard enough to tell what route he's going to take to catch your team off guard, and somehow even harder to actually win those 50-50 gunfights. aBeZy's best series came in Atlanta FaZe's match versus OpTic Chicago, where he led the entire lobby in both kills and damage. That's your Scump Team of the Week for Stage 4, Week 1.
Alrighty, folks, being told that we're just moments away from Game 1 starting. I know LAG does have lag in their name. I have no idea if that coordinates in any possible way, but, you know, who knows? I've been asked to possibly give LAG a technical just because of, no, all jokes aside, it is going to be a series that we are very much anticipating. I'm actually watching just toward my side monitor here, and I see players are testing things out, getting things ready. Players just making sure the shots are on fire. I honestly could not speak there for a moment, but so I want to kind of focus a little bit more, I guess you could say, on the Guerrillas side of things as we kind of readily approach this series start. I know the big topic has been on the Guerrillas about the respawns. How can they find that consistency in that department specifically? Because again, it's been a matter of like, hey, this team, they got to be better at the respawns, but how do you see that actually happening on a consistent basis for them?
I think it comes down to the SMG play, and it's just simple because aBeZy, he plays at such a fast pace, and I know that Silly, he was that AR on this team before, so him swapping over to a sub is still fairly new to him. So sometimes the pacing is just off between both of those players, so you can get them on the same page and just really get Silly to start putting a little more pep in his step with that SMG. I feel like they're going to be playing at such a better pace, at least in the respawn, so they have a fighting chance at staying alive throughout the entire game and not allowing it to be a blowout. And it's just great because obviously ever since these guys have made that change for Chino, every single map has been really close. Like, even though they're losing a majority of their respawns, they're still really close. They have the ability to fight with some of the best. It just comes down to those little 1 to 2 pieces that can really close the game out. And I'm looking specifically at those SMG players.
Yeah, I want to say too, kind of on topic with that, I know you are kind of circling the SMGs for this. If we're looking at one player to kind of be the difference maker for both of our rosters coming into this one, who did you highlight in bold today? Like, who are you circling from LAG side? Who are you highlighting? Who are you circling for the Dallas side to possibly be the biggest impact players on this series?
Well, on the LAG side, I was circling aBeZy. And the reason why is because the guy's a 2-time world champ. The guy knows what it takes to win. And we're getting closer towards the end of that year where we see the best out of aBeZy basically every single year, man. For some reason, he struggles in the beginning of the year, but then he gets like to his final form towards the end when around that champs time. So I need aBeZy to have a big series. And then the opposite side, oh, you probably thought I was going to say Vivid, but no. I'm definitely going to say Shotzzy, man, because Shotzzy, he needs to be that MVP SMG player. Like you said, throughout Stage 4, he's sitting at a .88, which is not something we expect out of this guy. He was the MVP last year for champs for this roster, so he needs to be back into that form where he just can't be touched on the map. Like, he's basically like another aBeZy, but his movement is just insane. You just need to be able to pick up those kills for your team to be able to close out some of these games.
And as we kind of take a look at Dallas's kind of road to the major, seeing what games they obviously have up next as they currently sit at 1-1. They've got LAG, they've got New York and Florida still to face off against. I mean, those two teams, especially kind of toward the end, I mean, that kind of heavily emphasizes how important this game is for the Guerrillas. Because, of course, you do get the W versus Ravens. You lose to Ultra. I mean, with the way that Subliners have looked, with the way that Florida has looked lately, I mean, that could be what kind of sets apart how this group lines out. I know a lot of conversation is who's going to be kind of that third seed. Is it Dallas? Is it going to be somebody else? That very well could kind of shape things up. And I also kind of on topic with that, I know you mentioned Shotzzy, you mentioned aBeZy, but specifically kind of on Shotzzy right now. I mean, what do you think has been the problem so far for him? Because I feel like he's had a good season overall. There's nothing that really kind of sticks out that says, oh, you know, this isn't great. There's been nothing that really kind of stands out and says, oh, he's absolutely excellent. He's in, you know, the same kind of par that he was last year. What do you think has kind of allowed him to maybe not be at that top tier as we saw last season?
Honestly, it's a lot of Dallas Empire players or just organization, the fans, whatever, they're going to be all mad at me because it was ever since they released Hook, man. And that's just something that was really scary. It's just that Shotzzy, he was so comfortable playing with Hook because they played at the same pace. They were both able to pick up those kills, but they released Hook. They go through a couple roster changes and it just doesn't working out for him. So hopefully Shotzzy and Vivid can be on point today with those SMGs to keep the pacing on point, at least with them fighting back and forth, trying to get those trades is exactly what Shotzzy needs to do today.
All right, man. I know, we talk about Shotzzy and stuff. Just interested to kind of see exactly how the kind of the rest of his season intends to play on out. Well, you see, it's all smiles, at least from the Dallas Empire camp. Again, I promise, folks, we are moments away playing the Guerrillas. We'll be back here in just a few moments with that hard point. I promise you, it's on raid and it's coming up soon. All right, folks, we are so glad to have you back because the game is ready. Did you get that? All right, we're just full of surprises today. I've been told that the game is about to start. So make sure to get that popcorn, be ready, get that game fuel, get it ever so close to your body because here we go. It is about to be on some raid. And let's start. Speaking of surprises, and I'm full of questions. I just love to ask you all the questions that I can because you're basically the encyclopedia of Call of Duty. And with that in mind, so like I said, speaking of surprises, how did LAG come through and surprise us on a map like Raid? What needs to be done? I know we've talked about players. We've basically set the stage as well as you can, but getting more specifically into this Raid hardpoint, how do you see LAG come through and win this first one?
It's all going to come down to the money hills, man. Like, if you are not able to gain any time for that P1, you need to respond with the next hard point, which is going to be towards Kitchen. You cannot allow for the team that's holding the previous hard point to go in and at least break your rotation and at least chain some of that time together. LAG, they do a great job when we talk about Apocalypse hardpoint. For that P2, they basically get a full 60 on it every time. So as long as they can hold their setup properly and just not allow Dallas to break in and give themselves a full 60, I feel like LAG has a good chance.
And with that in mind, we talked about hardpoint. Dallas has not treated them oh so kindly as of late. When we talk about this particular mode for them, they are 1-4 in their last 5, currently on a 4-game losing spree in opening hardpoint. So with that all considered, LAG, we'll see what they can do out of the rip. And so far, it has been just as solid as you'd like to see. Speaking of the fact they also do have P2 spawns in their backside as well. Grabbing those early 20 are going to cause some instant problems for Dallas as they continue to lay down the lead. aBeZy also from the flank lays down some fire as well. Incredible Empire do get some time. It's aBeZy with the full-on 360. A wonderful play to take down Crim, and from there, he will hop inside of the point. Unfortunately, off of that play, spawns do flip for Empire, but we are well into this bad boy.
Yeah, we're not mad. We're not mad if you're LAG because they are able to get a good chunk of time off of this P1 hardpoint. So now it's all about just setting up that push, trying to set up that break towards his backside. And unfortunately, Crimsix, he's going to get the better of aBeZy in that gunfight, vivided with the trade. So they shut down that push from LAG as they try to commit towards that backside laundries. But LAG, once again, they're going to do it again. They're trying to go on the backside, and this is something that LAG tend to struggle with, is that they don't really have many different showings of how they want to attack these hard points. So once again, they attack the back. Dallas shut it down once again, and Dallas so far are holding this P2 hard point flawlessly.
They are indeed a great kind of pick me up if you are the Empire based on how P1 went. A setup that they desperately needed to hold considering how the game could have got out of hand, but now full 60 going the way of Dallas. But just as we say that, LAG, they spawn toward the back. Meanwhile, iLLeY spawns toward water side. So a number of different spawns happening on the other side of the map. And really for Shotzzy, running through the tape, my man. He's the only guy here toward the garage, despite what could have been a rotation for Guerrillas. They spawns toward back jungle, and this very well could be a chain for Dallas. Two kind of awkward situations, but God gods are smiling down them at least to start. We'll see how LAG can go for the break.
Yeah, but the pinch is coming in on both sides. They have to try to locate Vivid, and yes, they do. So now you have 3 players from LAG committing towards that gym side. Assault winning a big gunfight, but the pinch is in from aBeZy. And that's such a heads-up play. That's going to spawn all of Dallas Empire out towards the middle of the map. And just like that, LAG were able to break in and not allow Dallas to get a full 60 hold once again. Now you had to start thinking about that rotation. You know that basketball is another full 60 hill. Gunfight still going back and forth in towards this gym side. aBeZy trying to walk with the engagement away from Mr. Crimsix. He's currently sitting on a 3 spree. On the opposite side, you have Assault winning a huge one-on-one on Shotzzy off the rotation.
Now coming in toward a huge hill. In our first set of rotations, we now look toward basketball court. Both these teams looking to try to go for the time. It's a race over toward P4, and iLLeY is doing a great job. That's going to be 3, make it 4 straight at the hands of Dallas. As now we'll go ahead and step aside, take a gander at the comms with our Astro listening on the Empire.
I got Fargo 1 shot, correct?
They're going mid,
I jumped nade, Porter.
No, 2 there.
Yeah,
3, they're gonna hit money. They're hitting money, I think.
Yeah, money in the middle.
Yeah, I have the back.
I needed it.
Yeah, 1, 2 more, 3.
Yeah, one shot.
Yeah. Hold on. I'm gonna cut the first guy. Water steps, 1 shot.
Take your time, big
Fargo.
guys.
I'm gonna take here. You're on it.
One shot going in hill, 1 shot.
Yeah, I left.
Hit it. Only one to know.
I left. I sure there should be there's 3. There's 2. No, left on now. I need it. No one. There's no one. Left side. Another guy there.
I'm at right.
Fucking fry him.
Yo, water steps. I got him.
Let's go in. One spawn
back. One is hard right now.
I'm on him. Water steps.
Yeah. We're missing one more. We're missing one.
I'm on Z.
That could be my Z.
I got it.
Yo, behind us. No, behind us. He's still there. Holding. He can be anywhere. He pushed up palm.
No one behind us.
Yeah, we should help.
Yeah,
my pillars. Yep.
Yo, I'm watching water steps. I have water steps.
Okay, what's your porter?
There's 2. He's close up.
They're all out near pillars.
Yeah,
Nice.
Yeah,
we saw water.
We close up.
And pillar. You heard the pillar.
Yo, nothing water.
I have kitchen. Pick up pillar.
I don't see any pillars.
I need player.
I gotta watch my back. Water steps.
I'll see ring. One ring late.
One's kitchen.
Wait, ring late. Kitchen, ring late.
Yeah, I'm looking at
Adam.
Two.
Yeah, I'm going for it.
Yeah, one was he.
Yo, our side, another guy here. Yo, I'm about to go around. I'm going through basketball. right now.
Yeah,
go ahead, go around.
Yeah, I have your. Yo, who's ever in hill? You gotta watch. Watch kitchen.
They could have spawned back on you. I'm here with kitchen dead. They know I'm going around.
Z me.
Oh, yeah.
Let's get time.
Yo,
got hit, dead.
Yeah, one more pillar.
In the back. One shot.
Yeah, we gotta go around.
Go around and take your time. You remember we want to go mid here as well. Yep. Flash over.
On the heady.
He's in money, yes, hold. No, he's going back to kitchen. I'm here. I might behind him. Behind him. Take your time.
Dead. One shot in.
Well, it was a very back and forth first set of rotations. Dallas with the minor lead, and that quickly starts to get cut down. But so far, it has been a show from Shotzzy. We asked him kind of coming into this series, or really kind of talked about, can he reach that MVP form that we saw last year? What is it really going to take? And so far, my friend, the SMGs have come, and they have instantly made this one a show.
Yeah, he's answered the call, man, and that's exactly what we needed for all the Dallas Empire fans out there. It's for Shotzzy to really get his game on point. Not only his movement, but his gun skill. And right now, he's having himself a map. The pressure is on towards his P1 hard point. Dallas Empire in nice and early. They're forcing aLLeY once again to break in towards that P2. And aLLeY, the first time around, they decided to be 3-man push towards the back laundry. Not once, but twice. This time, aLLeY, they need to work around that water side. They need to try to take control of that money window. But Dallas Empire, just too much pressure towards the middle of the map. Just able to shut down that push and now open up with the first 10 seconds and potentially getting another full 60 here.
I was going to ask just, what has been the difference for Dallas? Really, they played Ultra on Raid in their last match. Of course, that was the 3-0 win for Toronto, and now here on Raid, they are looking excellent, but I feel like I know the answer. It's probably going to be something along the lines of Shotzzy, his impact so far. Am I right with that statement? Has it been Shotzzy that's been the difference?
Yes, it's definitely Shotzzy been the difference, and when they played against Toronto, they just didn't have a good job at breaking in towards this P2 hardpoint, and this is a different story now because Dallas Empire are the team early set up for it. So that's going to be 2 full 60s for this P2 hardpoint. aLLeY were only able about to get like 10 seconds max on the very first rotation towards that end of that junk time, but Dallas Empire is doing such a great job at just holding down these hardpoints the best they can. Crimsix already on a 5 spree. And now it's time to work off that rotation as Chino's going to drop. Number 7 is going to spawn out behind them, which is going to be silly. Crimsix is going to go for the challenge. That's going to put him on a 6 spree. Unfortunately, he's not going to be able to pick up streaks, but the pressure is on from Jim's side. aBeZy and Chino holding it down currently for aLLeY.
Nelly does get found out. aBeZy, very well known for his lifting skills, does the damage inside of weights. And really, this has to be a hard point where aLLeY get every single second of it, and aBeZy continues to hold it down. Vivid quickly is there for the reply, greets both of the SMGs from the other side, and has a nice little answer for them. aLLeY getting the time that they have to over at Garage, but it just seems like Crim. It just feels like this team of Dallas are just hitting the shots that they have to. As like we said, everybody has come out firing, but Shotzzy currently sitting on +10 as we begin to fade back and focus once more on basketball. It's going to have to be a break. Can aLLeY make it happen, or could this very well be the final hill? Could it lay the groundwork for the end of this game as Vivid called upon to go big inside of kitchen? He falls. Shotzzy gets found out as well. That is 2 early kills for aLLeY. But can the players stay up? Assault, he's having himself a game as well. +7 for the moment. Players trying to break in from water side as well, but they continue to be taken down.
Yeah, and this is how aLLeY broke in towards this last time on the very first rotation, was right through the front. They had 3 players flooded out, and aBeZy, he's going to set up that pinch. So now it's all about just trying to get the timing. But unfortunately, Dallas Empire able to find all 4. And with 10 seconds left, they should be able to close it out here.
It looks good to do so. Few more seconds remaining, and iLLeY, consolation kills. The white flag is out for LAG, and Dallas answer commandingly in the opening hardpoint, winning this one by a solid scoreline. And really, as we talked about it, it was the SMGs who made the ultimate impact throughout the map, a number of different major plays, but it is Dallas who answer out of the gates.
Yeah, good answer out of Dallas, because we know that they have been struggling recently, just trying to get their footing correct with this new team, and it's a good way to start. You know, holding down the money hills like the way they did for that P2 hardpoint is the reason why they won this game. They didn't open up the map with time on that P1, but they were able to secure themselves a full 60 on the P2. Then it goes to the second rotation, and they do it once again. And LAG, they just had such a hard time of trying to break in, trying to shut down that setup for the Dallas Empire. But it was just way too strong, man. They look good on that map number 1, and now they start out the series up 1-0.
Empire get the job done in the game 1, and we'll take a look at our scorecard. I know we talked about it a lot, but Shotzzy 27 and 15 really kind of sticks off the page. You're looking at the LAG side, a few players, Silly, Cheen in specific, just not having the greatest of maps to at least start this one off. But like we said, Dallas needed to come out, win the opening hardpoint. They were able to do that. And now with this search and destroy, that now instantly becomes a primary one here for LAG. The plot continues to thicken. As we said, Vivid facing off against his old team has got to feel good after that opening victory. But how can he play coming into the search and destroy? Can it be a level 1 once Miami comes to a close, or can Dallas find themselves up 2-0? You'll have to find out when we come back after the break.
The Call of Duty League is presented by T-Mobile, now America's largest and fastest 5G network. Set your sights on the competition with T-Mobile, the leader in 5G. Presented by USAA Insurance, easy insurance for stuff in real life.
Dallas, they answered commandingly in the starting hardpoint, getting the job done on raid, but the conversation stud now needs to be directed toward the search and destroy. This has been a good mode all season long for the LA Guerrillas, which is why it kind of emphasizes even more for Dallas. As we've talked about, they have gone through a number of different roster changes, and you kind of see how the impacts have been able to develop with the different players that they've had in the starting lineup.
Yeah, so for Røkkr, obviously they played with Røkkr for 3 stages, and they're currently sitting at 10th in S&D. It wasn't really that good. And then Felony, they go through all of stage 3, just playing with him. The S&D just wasn't that good. And Vivid, he has 3 matches with them so far. They've won 2 search and destroys, they've lost 1 to Toronto, and now they find themselves in the 4th ever search and destroy that he's on this team. So KD's gonna look a little better, but the main priority is on a map like Miami, we know how LAG play. They take their sweet time on their offensive pushes. So Vivid, like I said, he's going to have the playbook in the back of his head. Hopefully he's able to show it to his new teammates now.
Absolutely, and on topic with that, it's our Astro Social soundboard. This one coming through from Tyler, said Vivid, Trying to show LAG what they were wrong in dropping him. Hashtag CDL 2021. Folks, make sure to utilize that hashtag. You got the opportunity to pop up in our Astro Social soundboard, but that kind of is the story of this series, man. It is Vivid versus his old team, and I know you kind of talked about it, Study. Like, they're search and destroys. We know what they're going to do. They're a very well-constructed team at times, and they kind of rely more on that methodical play style. They said, hey, you know what? Vivid doesn't necessarily fit as well into that play style. We know he's basically the fastest player in the entire CDL in terms of score per minute, kills per minute, all of those stats. He can be a speed demon. And I want to ask you, I know you kind of talked about it a little bit. You know what that LAG like to do on Miami. I mean, what do you think that Vivid does here? I mean, how much of an impact do you think he can have on a map like Miami, specifically versus his old team? We talk about strategy. He very well may know a lot of the things that LAG like to do on this map.
Yeah, he definitely is gonna know. Like I said, he has the playbook basically stapled to the back of his head, so he knows exactly what they're gonna bring towards every play. So I'm expecting Vivid to do what he did for LAG on a map like Miami, and that's be that island player. Because if he's that island player, the information that he's able to gain for his teammates is gonna show what play that LAG are trying to execute, because Vivid has that past knowledge of being that previous fourth for that team. So it's all going to come down to what kind of information Vivid can get and the aggression that he's going to put on. So him taking control of top purple is all the information that his team needs. That it's going to be another slow push out of LAG. This time, it's looking like the bomb is going to be a little bit more committed towards B, but just keep in mind Chino on that beach side being that island player.
I was going to say, we saw at the start, Dallas by no means obeying the street signs, saying to walk. LAG, no, they're kind of walking. They're not really moving too far. Eden having a nice little brisk pace towards Sand, as he will lay down a little bit of fire toward Vivid. And that could be some very interesting timing. He turns around and aBeZy is right there, but aBeZy, he turns as well. Both players getting some unfortunate COD timing, but can it work out in their favor? The next challenge, aBeZy is able to win it. Keeping in mind, 25 seconds on the clock, and LAG are now finally inside a garage. And they waited too long. iLLeY, he's able to back out after finding a kill. Meanwhile, Crimsix falls, the trade is in, and now it is all on to Shotzzy. iLLeY puts down the bomb, but Shotzzy in a nice angle cannot take down iLLeY. He puts in so much damage, but now he gets his second opportunity. Can he try and stay alive? He makes his way inside a piano and puts down the work onto aBeZy. What a dramatic round. Shotzzy, who probably had no right to stay alive for as long as he did. LAG come away with it, but Study, I have no idea how it got that close.
Yeah, that one was kind of nerve-wracking. I was sitting there just grinning the entire time. Is he actually going to do this? But no, aBeZy's able to walk away with the one-on-one engagement. It all came down to the timing. As soon as iLLeY got that bomb plan off, Shotzzy jumped over that wall. So iLLeY couldn't gain that sound cue that he was in that position. Unfortunately, Shotzzy doesn't close out the kill on the first time, but he's able to get the second. So just changes up his positioning right there. LAG still able to close it out with aBeZy picking up 3 on the round. But now we're on board here with Dallas on their offensive push. Saw Vivid, he ended up getting first blood that last round. It's not what we expect, but Crimsix changes the story this time around, and he's able to open up the first blood onto Chino. Now Dallas in a 4v3.
Great early work out of the ARs, which is, of course, to be expected. Salt left to pick up right where his team left off, and iLLeY pulls out the Krig. At one time, it was his gun in every single mode. Obviously now, with the SMG majority of the time in the hard points, is Dallas still with that first blood off of that position. aBeZy very well may find himself on the flank, and he will get rewarded for his endeavors. It does get traded out from Vivid, so a quick 3 versus 2, rather unfortunate, as you said, gets the kill, but we can take a breather at the respawn screen, as it now will be the rotation over toward B. iLLeY with the information, but no one to give that information to, as that B bomb site is free.
Yeah, and the B bomb is going to be planted, but just pay attention to the middle of the map. You still have iLLeY that knows that both players from LAG are across towards that A site. He's able to spot one in iLLeY, not able to close out that kill, but time is starting to tick. Eventually, Dallas are going to be able to work this bomb plant. Shotzzy needs to try to stay alive, because now they know that Vivid is going to be on bomb, and both players on this site drop. So now it's a 1v2 situation for iLLeY. He's able to spot one, but here comes the player from the steps, and just like that, when I thought Dallas Empire played that beautifully, they choke it. LAG in a 2v3 retake are able to win every single engagement. Great plays out of Assault and Silly to just take their time. They used what the play that Dallas Empire gave to them. They knew that Vivid was on that bomb. They needed to spot Shotzzy. They take him down, use the double challenge to come in on Vivid, and eventually execute the 2v1 onto iLLeY. Great retake right there out of LAG.
And oftentimes, right, we're talking about, you know, clutches. Of course, this one a 2 versus 3. I think oftentimes it does come down to that first player, and I think in that situation, Shotzzy, I don't know if it was just movement that was a little bit of a problem, if he thought he could stay alive, but kind of gets tripped up, and really in that position, Vivid, he's on the bomb, right? He's kind of hanging out on the bomb, so that quickly allows for it to be a 2 versus 1 fight, another 2 versus 1 fight, and then a final 2 versus 1 fight. LAG, despite not having overall numbers, are able to utilize what they have to the best of their ability. And speaking of numbers, a quick 2-0 to start off this Miami. It's 2-1 for Silly, 4-1 for Father App. Finds one kill in that last run, had a hat trick in round 1. Nice kills there for iLLeY through the van window. No problems whatsoever. He'll just add it to his tab. And I don't think those vans have been used in quite some time. And spotting really the very barrel of the gun, Vivid takes down App, and really another slow push for LAG. This time not looking nearly as good. One player left from the top rope. Vivid says, thank you very much. Dallas, get on the board.
And that's what's so, like, weird about LAG is that we saw them on the very first offensive push. They executed that B-bomb push when there was no trophies on the map. So obviously Dallas Empire, they go into their second defensive hold. Trophies had a completely different story now. And right there you call LAG just trying to take their time. And unfortunately, every time they threw a tactical, they could not get the information that they were looking for. And Dallas just picked them apart in that round. So good round right there out of Dallas on the defensive hold. Just catching the players of LAG off guard. So now, Dallas are going into another offensive push. We saw Crimsix open up with the first blood onto Mr. Chino last time on that A point. How aggressive do Dallas decide to get here? If I'm Vivid, I'm calling the shots. This is their setup the entire time. We can bully him out B because Silly, he's going to basically be sitting towards that back dumpster every single time. But as I say that, he switches out of sub, and he's going to go into purple. So, right now, LAG have control of purple. How did Dallas Empire decide to approach this?
Nice crossfire. Set up as Gene able to take down Vivid. I was going to say, to start off that round, you notice Vivid was just kind of checking over toward visitors.
All the way from both, too.
And checking over toward A. The nice long-range shots. Don't allow for that visuals to get... Don't allow for those visuals to get any more prominent. As we'll say goodbye to Shotzzy and goodnight to Crim. It all comes down to iLLeY. A 1 versus 3 now. And I'm not so sure it's going to get any easier. Takes down aBeZy. LAG do lose 2 members in the process, but it is a worthy transaction in the end, as they will find their third. A little bit, you know, a little bit crazy toward the end. You can argue at times just being a little bit too passive, but that opening crossfire definitely kind of set the tone for the round stud.
Yeah, it definitely did, man. Chino hit some great shots all the way from the beach side to a guy that was sitting on top of a bus. So it's not an easy shot to get done because you usually expect the player from Dallas who was... yeah, to just drop down and, you know, play his life. But Chino with some great shots all the way across the map, able to open up that first blood and now puts his team up 3-1. Going into another offensive push for LAG. So this time it's looking like the bomb is going to commit towards this A point. At least trying to get through the middle of the map. And this might cause problems for Dallas, but Crimsix, the vet, able to read that play, open up with the first blood on a Silly. Obviously, they don't have the information that the bomb is down, but it's going to force LAG to have a couple players get out of position to try to get this round in.
How's your day, stud? You know, just another slow round. All good. Okay, here's the action. Grim.
The day's pretty good so far.
I was going to ask. Okay, I'm glad to hear it. You know, it was a quick little 3-0 to start off the day. I was hoping for a better series, and it looks as if we very well... they've got what we asked for. Gene now sitting on the 3 spree. And a crossfire with the SMGs this time around, as it will be Money Gene left in a 1 versus 3. Very similar situation to what we saw iLLeY last round. Always love me some Money Gene. Nearly turns on to Shotzzy, but tell you what, man, just kind of these slower paced efforts, and at times Dallas, they're just able to capitalize. And I feel like in these situations where at times it is slower for Guerrillas, you lose that, you know, first player who maybe is hunting for information, and then from there it just seems as if they don't really know how to coordinate things. Another round for Dallas in the books. We'll see what LAG can now do on the reply. A swing round potentially in our midst if Guerrillas can find their fourth stud.
Yeah. With Dallas Empire going into another offensive push, they cannot allow Chino to get towards that boat side. So you see number 6, he's going to be watching that cut. Make sure no players are going to try to challenge Chino, but they're trying to get aggressive towards this boat. They're able to spot him as well. And with Chino having to play this position, it's going to allow Shotzzy to be aggressive on it. They're able to spot him, and eliminating Chino out of that position is so huge because now all of middle map is open and the crossfire will be set. Vivid, trying to creep with the middle map. He's going to get spotted by Assault, but Crimsix was able to take down one. So now in a 3v2 situation for the Empire, they cannot choke this one this time around once again. aBeZy and Assault are going to be alive. They're fighting from the middle of the map. No player does have any eyes on towards this A bomb. So the bomb is going to be in for Dallas. He's able to spot aBeZy as he crosses, so he gives up that bomb plant. The double challenge is going to come in. aBeZy actually wins that engagement on the Crimsix, so now it's a 2v1 situation, make it a 1v1. Assault versus Shotzzy.
38 seconds left. Shotzzy, Assault, both with somewhat of a bit of information. Time starts to tick away. Ed is spotted. Trigger discipline, Shotzzy rather takes the shot that he needs to. Maybe a little bit slower than we would have expected, but gets the job done regardless. I gotta say, man, when iLLeY hopped off the plant, I thought that it may have kind of spoiled the round there for the Empire, but we're able to lock things up. But a lot of that kind of comes down to the early game there of Dallas. Shotzzy puts it away, now sitting on the 4 spree, as now we're all tied up at 3-3. LAG, another opportunity here on the attack. We'll see what it looks like for them. And despite aBeZy's presence, possibly toward B, it appears the bomb at least making its way toward A, maybe even just to sit somewhat stagnant in the middle side of the map. It will be on the back of Silly. But will it stay there as Shotzzy puts in the work early? Again, on that 4 spree, 5-3 so far in this game. And it could be another situation where LAG take their time. But can it work out this time around?
Yeah, they're just taking their time, and this time Dallas Empire, they're allowing Vivid to be that island player. He's going to be the only player in this position holding down towards purple, but does he have any information where aBeZy can possibly be? Time is starting to tick, so LAG need to start stepping up the pace on this round to work towards his bomb plant. iLLeY, some great shoulders, able to spot at least one player close. He's going to get the nade to try to get out with his life, and that's great work, but here comes Shotzzy on the flank. He continuously has been stopped shooting at people so far. That's the 3rd round right there. He's done it. At least he's able to close out that kill there. And now he's on a 5 spree, working towards some streaks. Able to spot Silly as well. And he's trying to put some shots down into Chino. But iLLeY, unfortunately, he's going to get aggressive there. So now it's a 2v2 situation. Vivid with some great shots. Shotzzy staying alive was the biggest play there. His streak stays alive, but Dallas Empire, that's 3 rounds in a row. These guys have been able to train, and it's just been great work just forcing LAG to make a play in the final seconds, and then eventually Dallas just setting up a flank or setting up some kind of play to shut it down. Right there with Shotzzy on the flank, puts him on a 6 free, 1 kill off, or working towards some streaks.
I feel like we have we seen a streak like on Miami Search and Destroy? I don't know why my mind.
I don't think so, but it's got to be lethal,
I was gonna
especially
say,
to get
I feel like
down towards that A bomb.
With how open it is, like you said, like the A bomb site in particular, like that can really cause some problems. I don't know if we have seen streaks on Miami Search and Destroy, but hey, now could possibly be the first time. Like I said, Shotzzy causing issues, continuing to exploit what very well seems to be more of a methodical approach, aka a slower approach to the attacks out of Guerrillas. iLLeY so far sitting at 2 and 5. Meanwhile, Chain, who kind of is the S&D X factor for this roster, sitting somewhat nicer in the KD department.
Ooh.
Hangs out slowly.
Assault wasn't able to spot Shotzzy.
He made it through. Shotzzy makes it through toward Visitor Center. Finds his way through the employee exit and says goodnight to Chain. Hello, thank you to the streaks.
Now the streak is in. Unfortunately, he's going to get traded by Assault. So now it makes it a 3v3. aBeZy with the great kill onto Vivid. But now it's a 2v2 as that gets traded. iLLeY's going to get this bomb down. But does he have the information? He does. That Assault is going to be in towards this top window. Crimsix is watching in the middle of the map. He's able to spot the second player. So they have the information of Assault. It's only a matter of time before iLLeY's able to walk away with this kill. Those bursts look a little slow right there, iLLeY. We need to have that trigger a little bit better. But Crimsix with some great shots. to close out that round. Dallas Empire now are 1 round away from closing out this map number 2. Just keep in mind that Shotzzy was able to earn that artillery. So now they get to play a little bit more different for the Dallas Empire side. You want to make sure that you take control of purple. You want to make sure that you're keeping control of that A-bomb, at least in that top window room. So then it forces LAG to be aggressive and to try to get that streak usage out of Dallas Empire. But they're going to commit towards B, as they do have that information that the artillery is on the side of Shotzzy. But this time Shotzzy and his teammate Vivid are going to be aggressive in towards purple, not trying to give LAG any openings.
This first blood could be everything, considering the streak for Guerrillas. We'll start to form up toward back garage. iLLeY once more destroying the window of the van. Will come at somewhat of a cost. Assault on the other side. Lays down some fire once more. Could be a flank inbound, but Shotzzy at least going to go ahead and set the streak aside. At least gets the information, so he will have an awareness of where these players sit, and also going to have the awareness of aBeZy, but aBeZy's there. Shuts down Vivid. Is not aware of Shotzi's positioning, so it will be a 1-for-1 trade. And now here comes the streak. 25 seconds left, and Guerrillas will have to start to squander themselves. Somewhat of a separation now, as Silly, who did have the bomb, falls at the hands once more of the Shotman. 10-4, make it 11-4. Final player spotted, and you can give him that one too. Dallas take the S&D off of another highlight play from Shotzzy.
And I'm pretty sure that was the ace on the round, man. Shotzzy and Vivid played that beautifully. Like I said, they needed to take that purple control, because once they did that, it was really difficult for LAG to just try to work around the map. Like, after he goes and he's able to find that first blood onto Vivid, but then it's traded by Shotzzy. And then Shotzzy knows that the time is starting to tick. There's only 30 seconds left, so eventually they have to work that bomb plant. He keeps that artillery in the back pocket. He's able to just spam it all around that B bomb, which forces the players from LAG to try to push towards the back spawn, try to jump over the wall, or even try to get into purple. And that's exactly what he did. He soloed out Silly, forces into a 1v1, then jumps out towards the balcony, able to find the last two, get the ace on the round. So far, Shotzzy is having one of those MVP performances with that SMG in his hand.
And it's great to see, man. Obviously ends the game out on 7 in a row, 12-4. Like I said, just had a phenomenal start to the hard point, as he has been the answer again in the search and destroy. You know what? Kind of somewhat even numbers from the rest of the team, but Shotzzy putting on that MVP form that we have been, I guess you could say, kind of waiting for, you know, from time to time. Again, we were very excited to see Shotzzy come through the way that he did for Dallas and last season, and you know, so far throughout this year. Like I said, we've talked about roster changes, how that could kind of affect things, but in this series, he has been putting on for his good old buddy Vivid. As now we go and take a look back at that round 11 for our U.S. Army tactical play. Again, Stud, it is the clever plays, rather not in this round 11, it's in the closing round of this game. What, man, Shotzzy laying down the groundwork, getting the job done, and playing the streaks perfectly.
It was beautiful, man. Like I said, he opens up with that kill, that traded kill onto aBeZy. Now he calls in the streak, forces Silly to be aggressive in towards top purple. He almost hit the team nade there onto his teammate, but the heads-up play that he knows the bomb eventually has to get planted for LAG. He takes his time to go around the garage side, able to find the first and then snap onto the second. It's just something, man. It's something that Shotzzy's on today. It's got to be the haircut, bro, because when you look good, you play good, and right now, he's on point.
He is, man. He is looking good, feeling good, and playing good. A solid start for Shotzzy and the Dallas Empire. A very happy team, as now they find themselves up 2-0, but the icing on the cake, potentially. Can they lock up this control and end the 8-game losing spree? Is it this series, or will that be the key to LAG bringing this one back? Make sure to stay with us. This is, once again, Garrison Control up after this.
Call of Duty League is presented by T-Mobile, now America's largest and fastest 5G network. Set your sights on the competition with T-Mobile, the leader in 5G. Scuff, the official controller of the Call of Duty League. Seany, the official eyewear for the CDL. Armor your eyes with ZenyBlock's blue light protection glasses by visiting zeny.com/gaming.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to day one of the Florida home series. Dallas currently finding themselves up 2-0. It is Vivid facing off against his old team, and they are happy coming into this control, but maybe not as happy as they should be, Study, because we talked about this control previously, and I guess you could say recently. It has not been so solid for the Empire. I know you've been all over this. You were all over this at the start of the show. Oh man, it is not looking good in this 8-game losing streak.
It's definitely not, man. This is ever since they released Hook from this team has not won a single control. They went through Felony, they went through Vivid, and they still find themselves sitting at 0-8. The only thing that really just sticks out to the page for me is the defensive rounds. Like, the fact that they are dead last in defensive rounds, they are better at their attacking than they are in their defensive stands. Like, that's terrible, man. They need to be able to just hold down their setups properly, especially on a map like Garrison, where neither team is really good at it. You have Dallas on one side, who is sitting at 2-6, and the opposite, LAG, who are 1-6. So Dallas Empire, if they can come out and win this, it'll be good, because they'll be able to close out in 3-0. But if they lose it, it's still the same story. Ever since they dropped Hook, this has been their worst game mode. But the way that Shotzzy is playing right now, it's gonna be really hard to stop that young man. Apathy needs to be on point for them to not get 3-0'd in this situation.
I gotta say too, like on topic with the lack of defensive round victories that they've had throughout this 8-game stretch, at least like this could almost kind of be a curveball, or rather a nice little soft pitch for the Dallas side. Just kind of granted, because LAG are ranked 12th in the CDL in attacking round. So like I said, maybe this could be like a nice little opportunity for them to kind of change up that control, to get something done differently whenever you have a team who has struggled mightily, like we said, in these attacks. But I did ask the stats team, like, what is Shotzzy's KD right now? Like, how is he performing so far? 2.05, 39 and 19 to start off this series. And again, when we talk about this control, man, the woes that have caused so many problems so far, I want to say Shotzzy kind of in this losing streak recently has been one of the lower KDs in the control department. Now on a Garrison, with how hot that he has looked, again, man, I think that he has the potential to be the ultimate difference maker. If he comes out hot, I think it looks pretty dire for LAG here.
Yeah, it definitely does, man. He's shooting as straight as his hairline, so he's on point right now. He's feeling good. He goes into that map number 1, at least get a double positive there, picks up some streaks on that map number 2. And now, like I said, man, his team has been struggling with this game mode, but his performance so far today has been MVP-like. It's been something that you can compare to his performances out of last year, and so far he's on point. So, like I said, this map isn't strong for either team, but we know how Garrison is played. As long as you're able to keep that top screen control and just have your SMGs just be menaces on the map, going through that snake, going through bottom middle, just being such a rat on this map is going to be so huge, especially for Dallas Empire, who are going to be starting on their defensive side.
You got me studying with the shooting as straight as his hairline. That was good. I like that, man. How I guess this is kind of code. How straight does Nameless shoot?
I'll let chat decide that one. They all know the stories. It's a bumpy road, the Rocky Mountains out there for Mr. Nameless. I love him though. It's my guy.
Oh my gosh, we love you, Nameless. All jokes aside, again, but we've been giving Ant so many problems to start. But how about that? A nice 3-0 start for Dallas, as that will be good work to get done early. But off the side attack, Shotzzy realizing that Apathy very well may have snuck his way through, but thank you very much.
Gotcha.
Nice one to start.
Yep, so now Dallas Empire, they have full control of the map. They're just forcing all of LAG to try to pick up some kills out of their spawn. They're all trying to push out towards this bottom floating area, but kills are just going still in favor of Dallas Empire. They're keeping the map control. Vivid pushing out towards bottom mid, has a big one-on-one versus Silly, able to walk away with that one. Get away with his life, and Crimsix is there with the trade, so now it's all about just trying to chain a couple kills together, but they still are keeping LAG off this point. So the time is starting to go down. 28 seconds left. Chino's going to be the first one to get on it, but Dallas, they just keep on flooding players one by one to eliminate these players from this positioning. But LAG, they were able to eliminate that player out of top green, now trying to get over towards that 8 point.
And aBeZy looking to lead the charge right now for the team, nearly 1 tick through. As right now, Dallas trying to answer back. Vivid quickly on the reply. Same thing with Crim. A current 1 versus 2 over toward this 8 point, but it's Dallas winning out, and it's Crim putting away the Krig and lighting it up with a 74U. 10 seconds remain. And really, what can the Guerrillas try and make happen? And so far, the push has been halted. A nice kill comes in for Vivid, and that will be the story of this opening control. LAG with some progress at times, but ultimately the door closed right in their face.
Yeah, and that's pretty good. Dallas, they were dead last in defensive rounds, and they walk away with that one pretty easily. So that's a good way to start if you're Dallas Empire. You're currently on an 0-8 spree, and it's just not been good in this game mode. And Crimsix, he's having himself a map so far. Currently on a 3 spree, sitting at 6-2. Really just holding down those power positions, holding down that top floating, holding down that top green for his team to allow his SMGs to be able to push up. But now they find themselves on offense. They're a little better in their attacking than they are on their defense. So let's see what they're able to bring here as aBeZy opens it up with the first blood.
He drops the first, and really off of that, Crim there for the reply. Now sitting on 4 in a row is C6. Needs to get the gamer tag changed, by the way. Regardless, iLLeY now making some progress, making his way toward front lights, and really with that, farthest pushed up player, just trying to do anything he can right now just to cause some problems inside of that kill feed, but he eventually gets dealt with, and now could be the opportunity for Guerrillas. Again, on a map like Garrison, sometimes time can get away from you if you are on the attacking end. One good and kind of solid push from the defense can kind of cause map control problems with the remainder, but aBeZy, position known. Shotzzy, he handles it. Meanwhile, it's Sheen, farthest pushed up player. He gets dropped as well. And with that, 2 players now on to the B point for Dallas. 1 tick in, and clock stopped at 36 seconds. How can LAG look to make the retake? You get a few players initialized through green. Sheen tosses out the nade, and this very well is going to come down to possibly aBeZy. The nice trades as Sheen is able to win it out. And with that, just moments away, inches away from capturing that B point. iLLeY left between a rock and a hard place. Has to refocus on where the fire was coming from, but as he falls, this could be the Guerrillas in another great situation. The final push now set up here for Empire.
Yeah, so this is going to be the last push right here from the Empire. aBeZy opens up with the kill onto Vivid, so it's all onto Shotzzy to try to cause some problems in the middle of the map. Chino is able to spot him. Crimsix is able to find one in towards top green. And if he can find this second kill, it can possibly open up that 8 point, but he's going to commit towards B, find aBeZy. He's trying to get onto it, but he's not able to get there in time. But I'd like to see if right there, when Crimsix is able to get that 2-piece, just to jump up towards green to try to stop that clock on that 8 point. So it's going to be really difficult for them to try to get across the map, but tried his best. Unfortunately, time does not go in his favor as he does find 3 kills on the end of the round. And LAG, they just do such a great hold, such a great job of just keeping control of top green between Silly and Assault, just causing so many problems for Dallas when they were trying to get out of their spawn. But now Dallas find themselves in another defensive round. Crimsix on a 3 spree, working towards some streaks. Can they come out and do the same exact thing that they did in the very first defensive hold?
Yeah, we'll see that with the opening setups. You got 2 players sitting instead of green, and that will at least help your chances somewhat as Assault, the accidental teammate on the Sheen. aBeZy will do all he can to try and make up for the mishap, but it will not work out in their hands. As you'd like to imagine, the teammate to start. We talk so often, and especially on a map like Garrison, how important these initial team fights are for the attacking team. You have a teammate come through like that, and instantly a lot of the momentum is ended as Dallas now has them set up quite well, and not necessarily a spawn trap, but really just an angle fest. Great jobs for the Empire to pick up off the mistake.
You just got to keep in mind that in that very first offensive push right there for Dallas, they were at least able to get 2 ticks on towards that B point. So if it does go to around 5, Dallas will have defense. And so far on their defensive hold, they are just keeping map control, applying so much pressure on the map, but LAG able to finally answer the call, eliminating 3 players. Now it's all about just trying to take Crimsix out of this top green area. He's able to find one, able to find the second as well. allows his teammates to come off spawn and fight through lights as iLLeY picks up another. But just constant pressure from Dallas in the spawns of LAG. They just can't get out, man. There's just too much going on right now for LAG to get out of their spawn.
Yeah, time's trying to tick away. Gene, can he get there? Can he slide in? And he will, contesting it. 0.0 seconds on the clock, but unfortunately for Gene, he was the only player in a place to try and contest. Defense to start, defense to close. Crim and iLLeY putting up some of the best plays throughout that round 3. But as we said, defense wins out once more, and Dallas now possibly 1 round away from locking up this series and ending out the 8-game control losing streak. And they do it here, Stud.
I think they can, man. The way that they have been holding down their defensive holds, it's been great to see. Like I said, if it does get to push to around number 5, if LAG are able to come out and win this, they were not able to get any ticks on neither one of their offensive pushes. So Dallas Empire, with the 2 ticks of progression that they got towards that B point, would basically guarantee them defense if it does go to that round number 5. But you see what Vivid's trying to do, trying to attack towards top green. Silly's able to get that trade, so now it's all about LAG just applying the pressure. iLLeY's able to find one. Silly does get traded. So that initial start for LAG, they thought that they had map control. Dallas Empire played slow. They take their time, and they're able to come out on top in those engagements.
And somewhat of a different look, right? Green was opened up for a moment. Crim tries to make his way through there and hop on over to A. Meanwhile, it does make LAG have to focus their attention toward one side of the map. Meanwhile, it is Dallas now gaining some time over at B, as that is quickly 2 ticks already in, and the 3rd one is going to be locked in as well. So Dallas off the start, one of the most convincing attack rounds that we have seen yet. 30 seconds in, and they have got themselves an extra minute on the clock. Capture B and now have some time to work on how to lock up this round. As you said, they've done enough in that round 5 to at least give them favorable position, but can we even get there? Can LAG even do enough to force the issue? As back and forth we go. Ring around the rosy. Constant checks for both Shotzzy and Silly. Silly backs up and allows for Assault to do the work from long range.
Yeah, and right there, Shotzzy was just trying to stall time for his teammates to get to him because they knew that the pinch was going to come in, but Assault and Silly win 2 huge engagements on towards that point to shut down that push from Dallas. So now it allows LAG to hold once again as time is starting to click. We have a minute 15 on the clock. Dallas trying to work through the middle map. iLLeY with some great shots, able to find 2. They spot the 3rd, so you're going to have 2 players that are going to spawn to your left. iLLeY, unfortunately, he's going to lose that engagement to Chino. Big 2-piece out of Chino. Once again, to shut down that push. Now it's all on Shotzzy. He's going to be the only player on this point, and he gets eliminated. LAG now can push up and gain more map control.
Big moment for the Guerrillas. Can they hold? Possibly 1 to 2 more pushes left in the tank for Dallas, depending on how aggressive they want to play this. Shotzzy spotted, but aBeZy not able to take him down, but wins arguably the more influential fight of the 2. Does get traded, but that's right where Silly is going to be able to drop him. So once more, Dallas, they were up in lives. They capture that B point early on in this game, but it has been a great defensive hold so far throughout this last minute 45, but LAG 10 seconds away from the round 5. A quick little trade to start this one off. Vivid from the front. Meanwhile, it's Shotzzy once more through the back. A great series, but can he cap it off with the play of the game? He and Vivid working so well together. That's going to be 3 down, make it 4 down for a moment from LAG. Sheen from range. It's Crimsix as well, replying exactly where he needs to. And LAG get to the point in time. Currently, a stack in play for Dallas. 3 seconds on the clock. Keeping in mind it's currently delayed. iLLeY puts in the work with the Diamante, and that very well may have done it. aBeZy's on the point. He finds 2, but it's Shotzzy there for the trade, and it will be a victory in the books for Dallas Empire as they come through and answer back versus LAG. Complete the 3-0 and end the 8-game control losing streak in such a solid and phenomenal way.
Man, it all came down to just that last push. Dallas only had 1 push to try to execute this play. They soloed out Chino as he was camping towards the back of that light, sitting on that tank area. He got one, but then he got naded. So now the entire middle map is open, and Shotzzy, he finds that opening. He knows that 2 players from LAG are going to be sitting in towards bricks, and 1 player is going to be on the point. So he hits the full flank right up the middle of the map, able to come behind 1 player in bricks. His teammates able to get the trade, and then at that point, everyone's just flooding the point. There's only 1 guy left on this. We put the stack in. We should be able to close it out, and in those final moments, man, if Chino does not drop there, or if somebody is there to help him on the trade, because he got 1 and then he got naded out, if someone was there to fill that gap right there, they do not allow Shotzzy to have that opening, and they have the potential to force it to a round number 5, but Shotzzy, he finds it, he executes the play well, and eventually closes out the game for his team in a 3-0 fashion. Dallas, they look good, man. They look good.
Yeah, and you got to feel pretty good if you're a Dallas Empire fan, considering that, again, many people coming into this series, I think you yourself and myself included, had this one going down to probably a game 4, game 5 most likely, just with the way that LAG can be so crafty. We talked about how much of a statement game this could be for Vivid. He obviously plays well kind of toward the stretch. He and Shotzzy with that ending play are able to close it out. It was Shotzzy to start, and really iLLeY picks up from where he left off, 24 and 15 out of Ender, and I guess you could say, Stud, kind of I guess Dallas looking better than we expected. Granted, it was versus the Guerrillas, and so you have to kind of take that into consideration with this team. At times can be lethal in the search and destroys. Respawn has kind of been a question, but I think for the most part, we leave this series with some more hope in the Empire camp. And I'm pretty sure that Vivid had to have his best series so far for the team.
Oh, 100%, man. Like, the guy was basically a 0.4 in the first series, 0.6 in the second. So right there, he's sitting around a 0.8, 0.9. So that's a little better, but the big MVP player was definitely Shotzzy, man. He came out, like I said, hairline fresh, gunfight fresh. The guy was just on point, man. He was feeling good. He started off that hard point really well, took over in that search and destroy, and in those final moments right there, he makes the play for his team to close out that map. Gotta tip the hat to Dallas, man, because it's been struggling ever since that releasing of Hoop, but getting a win like this now puts them in stage 4 at 2-1. So you have a good chance of trying to make it out now.
Definitely, my friend. Definitely a big game. When we talk about the groups, a big game for this team's confidence as well. And you kind of referenced it, right? Kind of that final play toward the stretch. Well, we get to revisit it, as that will be our scuff play of the game. It is Shotzzy and Vivid, the coordination of the SMGs here late. We talked about it, a number of different times, Stud. If this team, if this kind of group together, if these SMGs can line it up the way that we know we can, or rather that they know they can, this could be an SMG line to look out for. They make the play toward the stretch, and that solidifies the series.
Yeah, I told you. It was all on Chino. He was able to find 1 player in the back, but then he got naded out. So then they found that opening for Shotzzy, and no hesitation, the guy hit it. He comes up behind 1 player in towards bricks. He sets up his teammate as he was coming through the middle of the map to get that trade, and eventually everyone collapses onto the last guy on that point. A 4 stack comes in. Really difficult for LAG to try to break in, as you saw aBeZy. He tries to go God mode right there with a 2-piece, but Dallas Empire just had way too many players on that point. 4 stack, we know how fast that is going when it comes to the progression, and they just get the job done, man. Well executed out of Dallas.
Yeah, you see smiles on the face of the Empire players, kind of a sweat off the brow type of situation coming into this series. They get the job done. Now let's take a look at the remainder of their road toward the stage 4 major. Again, they've got 3 games done, 2 more still to go, and that very well could be 2 of the more difficult matches that they will have. When we talk about this stage, of course, they did lose to Ultra earlier on, and New York versus Mutineers, those are going to be 2 very, very difficult opponents, considering especially how great that Florida have looked as of lately, Stud. But I'm sure social media is reacting in a very prominent way. We see our Astro Social soundboard here, a number of tweets coming out saying, you know, Shotzzy is about to turn up when he gets that buzz cut. Shotzzy with a low cut, unstoppable. Shotzzy got a fade and started moving differently, and then nice to see Shotzzy play like an MVP again. As you said, Stud, look good, play good.
I told you, man. It's all about that hairline. Look at him. You could just tell. The guy's smiling from cheek to cheek, feeling good. Hairline's looking crisp. Look good, play good, like you said, man. And the guy definitely came out to play today for his team.
Absolutely, my friend. Well, Shotzzy, like I said, is feeling good, playing good, and overall, the gameplay was immaculate today. When we come back after the break, it is Lottie, joined alongside by Shotzzy for our post-game interview.
Call of Duty League is brought to you by GameFuel. Unlock a CDL team pack with any purchase on gamefuel.com/CDL while supplies last. Offer ends on August 31st. Tournament audio and team listen-ins are powered by Astro Gaming, the official headset and mix amp of the Call of Duty League.
Hello everybody and welcome to your GameFuel Victory Spotlight. Joining me I have the absolute on fire player Shotzzy from the Dallas Empire. Shotzzy, I've got to say man, nice win for you guys, a really hot 3-0 in a series that I think a lot of people might have taken it to game 5 against LAG with you guys, and you've had a couple of up and down games and things may not have been so 3-0 hot for you guys as of recent, but something was working today. Any kind of insight onto what that was from your perspective?
Yeah, we played really good today, and it was just mainly our comms, honestly. Like, we understood each other on that first map, and then we kind of just took that momentum and steamrolled the last 2 and 3rd map.
Yeah, it was pretty ridiculous, to be honest. You yourself played top dollar, absolutely incredible. Vivid, obviously coming on board to the team, a new addition. He was playing against his old roster. So, I mean, what was that like? Was that a little bit more of like an edge, a little chip on the shoulder when you guys were playing LAG out there today?
Yeah, no, definitely. He kind of understood their little, like, the way they like maneuvering around the map, and he kind of helped us just because, like, some situational, he was like, oh, App likes pinching here and stuff like that. So it definitely helped us in the S&Ds, and yeah, it was pretty funny that he played against his old team.
Love that. He's got the intel. That's exactly what you want when that happens, yeah. when you're leaning up against an old teammate. Well, I have to ask you about Control, man, because obviously the stats don't lie. We've seen what's been going on. The Control hasn't been looking too peachy, is it, as of recent? So, you know, what really was the problem with Control for you guys? You know, what was the issue with trying to find your rhythm on that game mode?
Oh yeah, our biggest control on Control is just that every single time we're going down in lives, we're trying to rush things too fast, and you know, now we've realized that we just need to slow things down, you know, communicate where we want to go and stuff like that. So yeah, that's just been our biggest mistake, just rushing things when we just need to slow down a little bit.
I feel you, man. Well, it's looking pretty good, and before I let you go, I've got to say, Shotzzy, the hair's looking sharp today, and I'm wondering whether or not that is the key to the sharp skills that we saw from you on this series. So, is it got something to do with the lid, the new haircut?
I mean, I hope so. You know, I randomly get a buzz cut and I'm dropping, you know, what, 1.50s. I don't know what I dropped, but like, I'm doing good. So I mean, maybe it might be the haircut, but yeah.
Oh, I'll tell you what, you need to call up that barber, tell him he has to come through every single week. Shotzzy, thank you so much for joining me, and best of luck throughout the series, man.
Thank you for having me.
Well, there we go, we've heard from Buzzcut, Shotzzy. He's looking pretty good, he's playing pretty good as well. And I'll tell you what though, the day's not over. We have a lot of talking to do, a lot of discussion to be happening after these 3-0 drops that we've seen from all of our games today. It's going to be myself and Nameless on the desk. We'll be chatting to you guys. Stick with us, and we'll see you after the break. Well, I'll tell you what, FaZe and Dallas are on that beach right now sipping gin and juice as they just secured two 3-0s. 2 3-and-donuts for their day. What an incredible start to the Florida home series. It is so lovely to have you joining us once again on the desk. And we have the results. The results are in, folks, presented by the US Army. So like I said, 2 big 3-0s, massive sweeps across the tables here. Surge versus Atlanta FaZe and Dallas versus LAG. I hope you guys have enjoyed it because it's been pretty quick today. We were moving on these series. We had things to do. I think some of the teams had things to do, clearly, because there's no messing around. And there was no playing today. But I tell you what, we did see some plays. Might not have been any playing or messing around, but we saw some plays. So we got a bit of search and I was about to say search and control. We got a bit of S&D, search and destroy, to talk about. What are you cooking up for us?
Yeah, it was a great search and destroy out of the Dallas Empire. You know, they fixed some of their mistakes, and what I was really impressed by was them just identifying the hole in the setup of LAG. And, you know, they started to play towards that beach side, and in particular it was Shotzzy. They played to their strength. Shotzzy was on fire today, so they used him like a blunt force object to get their way through. And, you know, we're going to check out this round. So Empire did this a few times where they did like this map spread, and they were just waiting for the opposition to give them a look, right? So you see Shotzzy over here, he picked up on what was going on, so he just sprinted straight to the boat, and he finds Chino here sort of as like a little freebie here. And they did this a few times. So they did this spread, and they favored the beach side. And at this moment as well, you see Vivid, he sneaks up mid-map, and while he's doing that, Crim looks over and picks up a kill. So Vivid dying there, you know, a little bit unfortunate, but still fine because Crim was able to pick up one of the people that were looking for Vivid. So now they have a 3-on-2 over near this A bomb site. They have full beach control. So this is basically the optimal situation that you want. When you go over towards beach and you get that first blood, you want to get pushed up towards this bomb site, get it down, and get out with your life. So you're going to see iLLeY gets it down. He's playing his life here near the bomb site. Meanwhile, Crim gets in an engagement where he dies to app, but Shotzzy's there for the trade. And if iLLeY were to plant that bomb initially instead of hopping off and getting back on the bomb, they would have been in a clean 2v1 situation. They would have all the advantage in the world, and they would have just won this round clean. But, you know, worst comes to worst, Shotzzy's left in a 1 versus 1 onto Assault. He knows where Assault is, gets the shots down, and wins the round. I mean, it was just great execution. I like the way that they approached that game, taking their time and playing a spread. Just some traditional search and destroy.
I love that. A bit of traditional search and destroy, or search and control, if you like to switch it up like me. But I tell you what, it was a nice little full circle that we saw from Dallas. You know, we spoke this morning about, you know, the way that Dallas have to perform and how they have to perform, and one of the things there was control. So it was lovely to see also control come in their favor and looking really good. A bit of a smoke show actually from Dallas Empire there with the control. And Vivid, I still feel like there's more to see out of Vivid.
Absolutely,
I still feel like there's more to give. No, he really didn't, and I do still believe in him. I'm still a believer. I think that he can do it. I just want to see a bit more aggression. But I tell you what, we do have tomorrow's schedule for you guys at the ready, presented by the US Army. Let's take a quick peek right now at what we have coming your way tomorrow. So starting our day off, we've got Paris Legion taking on LA Thieves. A big one there actually for both of our teams here. And at 4:30, we got Florida Mutineers versus New York Subliners. Now, this is going to be an interesting one because I think this is a very big game for Mutineers, and I think it's also a bit of a test for New York Subliners because Mutineers have been looking hot to trot right now. What would a win for the Mutineers do in terms of your opinion of them, Nameless?
Yeah, I think it would just solidify them in that top 4 for sure. For Mutineers, I mean, they've struggled against some of the top teams throughout the season. They're looking like they're at their best right now, and going up against New York, a team that is incredible at hardpoint, and just Respawn in general, like they have their work cut out for them. So going into that series, I mean, I'm looking for players like Neptune and Havoc to keep up the consistency, because what we've seen, it's been solid, right? Like they look a lot better, and that's what their last 2 matches have done for me. Is I've put them into my top 4 tentatively. They have to have a close series versus New York. Like they don't have to win it, but they pushed it game 5, show some good looks. Neptune and Havoc, they play, you know, consistent throughout, and I think it'll just, you know, solidify that for me.
Yeah, I got to agree with you there, Nameless, to be honest. For me, again, it would solidify the fact that they are here to step it up. They're here to contend. And most importantly, so many interviews that I've had now with Skies, I've had it with quite a few of the players, when they have won, on the days they have won, because they're hot and cold team, this team, they wanted to be consistent. That was the big thing. Every single interview, they would say, look, I want to be consistent, like my dog is consistently barking. Same thing. So, you know, it's, for me, it would kind of try and solidify that for them, and I think it'd be a huge win. But again, I do agree with you as well, Nameless. Like I think even if they don't win, if they can kind of put up the goods to a game 5 or keep things pretty damn close in terms of the game modes, then I think I'd be pretty impressed with what I'm seeing from them, especially as they're on their come up. Now, I do actually have my producer in my ear saying that we have some breaking news. I've just heard that we have a roster mania happening. So massive break. Actually, apparently it's the biggest sub that we've ever seen so far. Miles Ross Jr.
Instantly
joining
be the
FaZe.
worst team in the league. Instantly. Unless
emergency.
Unless Miles just like, you know, lost 10 years in some Benjamin Button type deal. I mean, they might be solid, but yeah.
Can I just say, I feel like this picture looks like Miles has stolen all 3 of their puberties in one, because the hair that is coming out on this guy's face compared to the others is a bit crazy. I don't know how that stacks up, to be honest. I don't know if that quite works out, but Miles, we wish you the best of luck on your journey with FaZe, and I'm excited to see what you can do as a main AR there. That's going to be it's gonna be interesting to say the least. I know he's got moves. Nameless, thank you so much for joining me once again. I will see you tomorrow. And folks at home, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm sorry it's been so quick, but I'm not sorry that we had a bunch of bangers. We'll have plenty more for you guys tomorrow. Same time, same place, you know what to do. And Miles, we love you, mate. We absolutely love you. Can't wait to see you perform, mate. So take care, everybody, and good night.
Once more, it comes onto the shoulders of Octane. Pulling down lights, gun, Cellium.
Shots.
And with that, that makes things that much more difficult, but it's the flank. It's the tiny tears and assistance, as that's going to be the 3rd for Simp. And could that be the 3rd round? Gunless lighting it up himself. And has it finally been the time with 2 lives left? It will be a 3-0 in control and a 3-0 in the series for Atlanta. LAG, 10 seconds away from the round 5. A quick little trade to start this one off. Vivid from the front. Meanwhile, it's Shotzzy once more through the back. A great series, but can he cap it off with the play of the game? He and Vivid working so well together. That's going to be 3 down, make it 4 down for a moment from LAG. Sheen from range, it's Crimsix as well, replying exactly what he needs to. And LAG get to the point in time, currently a stack in play for Dallas. 3 seconds on the clock. Keeping in mind it's currently delayed. iLLeY puts in the work with the Diamante, and that very well may have done it. aBeZy's on the point. He finds 2, but it's Shotzzy there for the trade, and it will be a victory in the books for Dallas Empire.